Okay, if I can ask you to take your chairs, please. What was Justin's last name? What is it? Great, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to day 2 of the Workforce Development Council's quarterly meeting. Here in Casper. Hope everybody had a great time yesterday. For those who went to the tour at Wild Gear, that was pretty cool, pretty incredible. Amazing that that exists here in Casper. Very cool. And dinner last night was amazing. So thank you to Jennifer for setting all that up, having that private room. Appreciate that. That was wonderful. And maybe the most impressive performance of the day was Jagger, our waiter, who served how many people? 30, 35, separate checks, drinks, food. That was crazy. With a smile. He was amazing. So Fire Rock never disappoints. So excellent. Well, this morning, if we will dive right in, we're going to go ahead and start with Justin Farley with Advanced Casper. So I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit about.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
We
Roll
need
call.
to take, yeah.
Even Jim's looking at me like, dude. Okay. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and start with the roll call, please. Thank you, Jennifer.
Governor Mark Gordon or designee. Senator Fred Baldwin. Representative Ryan Berger. Jim Engel.
Present.
Ron Wild.
Online.
Tony Cross. Dick Smith. Vice Chair Eric Trowbridge.
Present.
Larry Fodor.
Present.
Michael Kircher. Bria Hammock.
Present.
Chair Fabian Librera.
Present.
Tina Conley.
Present.
Mark Madsen.
Here.
Nathan Williams. Philip Cornella. Brenda Morgan.
I know.
Present.
Tiffany Marshall.
Present.
Danny Bureau. Charles Wilson.
Present.
Tammy Johnson. Here. Director Robin Cooley.
Present.
Commissioner Robert Short. Nikki Harper or designee.
Present.
Mayor Matt Hall.
Here.
Superintendent Degenfelder or designee.
Present.
Josh Durrell or designee.
Present.
Corinne Schmidt or designee.
Courtney's online.
Dr. Sandra Caldwell or designee. Who is Ben?
Hi, this is Ben Moritz, present.
Thank you. Katie Hogarty. Travis Lawrence. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Great. Thank you very much, Jennifer. So again, I'd like to welcome Justin Farley from Advanced Casper. Take it away. Oh, yeah, there you go.
There. You probably can hear me all right anyhow, but thank you for having me. Welcome to Casper, board. I hope we just had a group out at the Fire Rock earlier this week, 30 plus people single-handedly. The kid named Lane took care of the whole group. So yeah, it was great. So my goal here today is just to give you an overview of kind of what Advanced Casper is obviously it does in the community, some of the projects that we have going on, some of the ways that we are trying to address our workforce. And we have a lot of exciting stuff. So I've had a little bit of coffee. I'll talk fast, but happy to answer any kind of questions afterward. So with that, I think I'll just start on the east side where you guys were just out for dinner at Fire Rock. We recently had announcements that there's 200,000 plus square feet of new retail space that's going to be built out there, including a standalone Dick's and then a Home Goods, which I'm not familiar with the store, but people are excited about it, right? Some other ancillary businesses that go around that. That has spurred some additional conversations with some franchises that kind of work around that area. So we have a lot of activity right there. I think the really important part to point out is specifically with that is that that's outside investment, and it's kind of bucking the trend for the rest of the nation. You know, they're not building brand new retail downtown Denver. So our community is being viewed very favorably as far as for that investment. So we're very excited about that. Continuing further east out there, and I'll just keep some of the projects and the companies anonymous. It's not my role to make their big announcements, right? But we're working on a 30-acre piece that would house an existing company, their new campus. They are currently scattered throughout the community in multiple different leases, but they want to consolidate all that and expand. They currently, in the manufacturing capacity, employ somewhere in the neighborhood of 130 people. They view that as going to 300 plus in the next 5 years after they get that campus completed. That is a great story for Wyoming. They have interest in Texas and Colorado and Wyoming, and it was their workforce that kind of drove that when they mentioned, hey, we can put this facility in Texas, Colorado, or Wyoming. They're like, well, have fun if it's anywhere but Wyoming, because they've all got their roots here. So that will be an enormous impact on the area. So then we'll head out north toward the event center. I'm sure you guys have read about the Wyoming Sports Ranch that is going to be by the event center, the Ford Wyoming Event Center. That group that we were just here, they went to the Styx concert. That was part of their group, so hopefully we've got them secured as well. That facility is 160,000 square feet. It's a 10-court facility. There's nothing like it in our region. We see that as pulling in an enormous amount of new activity, including our own Proud to Host the Best and our state that converges on Casper, Wyoming, and has the volleyball that just wrapped up, and that basketball and so forth. But what's more important about that, or as important, is the halo effect that occurs when you build out a facility such as that, which is we have hotels that have made commitments. There'll be other service industries. The city is working on an application with the Business Council to build infrastructure on the property on the other side of that road that would then open that up for development with both light industrial and service and all of that to accommodate. So that one investment, again, spurs hundreds of millions of dollars of other private investment. So we are very excited about that. We are also part of the state has the shooting complex that we want to participate in, the $10 million that they are committed to build that out. That Soda Lake area, up in that area, is something that we've identified, so that if you look at the top of that hill, the event center, it'll be most definitely a sports complex type of attraction. That hotels, all that will accommodate that as well. So we are working on that as well. We go out west. The state of Wyoming just supported Austin, which is long-running, probably 40, 50 years in Wyoming, in Casper and Mills specifically. They build enormous things for the mining industry, for coal specifically. This money is going to allow them to expand and update their facility. So they're going to pump somewhere in the neighborhood of $20 million into that facility. Their workforce is also, they're over 100 employees, and they're looking to double that as well. Our airport, working on the tankers for the Forest Service, so we could be a hub for fighting fires in the region, which is a big thing. The airport is a great asset that we have as a community that we're really trying to work with. They're getting a new FBO. The group that we were out to dinner with earlier this week was RARA, which is the Reno Air Race Association. We are one of 6 communities that they're considering for moving from Reno to. I bring that up because in addition to that race, if they have success, they have about 10, 15 employees that will then move with that organization to continue to do it. They've done those races in Reno for the last 50 years, so they have a staying power. So projects in the work that we have, so Advanced Casper, we have kind of 2 entities. We facilitate the Joint Powers Board, which we're all aware every community has one to facilitate state and federal dollars. And then I have the other side of Advanced Casper is made up of membership of companies that employ people in Shoshone County. So Banner Health, and Casper College, and Automation Electronics. And so less the service industry that we feel that more is a chamber role that brings them involved. We like to represent the employers of our community, and that's the voice that we kind of go with. Now that private side allows us to do be more flexible and do more things with those private dollars as opposed to if you're going through a Joint Powers Board and getting government dollars, right? So with that, I've mentioned the airport as being a great asset. We're working diligently on the foreign trade zone. We have the only foreign trade zone in the state of Wyoming, the only international airport. Comes with a customs agent, have to have a customs agent to have a foreign trade zone. So we've identified, with the help of a local company, a consultant who is assisting us. I've appointed Goose Tree, who's part of my organization, as our foreign trade zone, basically 3PL. He'd be a third-party provider for that. What we look to do as Advanced Casper is administrate that foreign trade zone and do the reporting and shoulder the liability of said reporting, right? So we've recognized that nobody uses the foreign trade zone. Well, very few people use the foreign trade zone to any scale. And simply because it's Wyoming, right? So we don't have the economy of scale and a lot of that for those companies to use it to justify the investment in doing that. So we view that there's an opportunity to step in there, shoulder some of that liability in order to prove out that business model. We look at it as an incubator where we'll have a facility that we can open up to these companies to allow them to utilize the foreign trade zone and see the benefit of that, with the hopes of, like any incubator, that they would eventually graduate from that and have their own facility. So, you know, we've kind of Wyomingized the whole foreign trade zone conversation. We have Wild Gear was one of the companies that we spoke to that it might really work for. They were a willing participant. However, they have hundreds and hundreds of different of SKUs, which complicated that and made the software that we had not applicable, and Goose would not have the time to do all that. So still ongoing conversations. We've also, I will just mention, we do have our customs agent who is a part-time, and that's a bit of a unicorn in the world, in our nation anyway. So we would like to either get additional part-time or have full-time so that we keep that position here, because without that customs agent, of course, you lose your status in that.
Justin, if I may, if you wouldn't mind just taking a couple minutes to define the foreign trade zone for some that may not know what that is and what the benefits are to local businesses, because I think it is a unique thing that we have in our state. So I think it's worth talking about.
Yeah, happy to. Well, from the level that I can, right? So what it does is it allows companies to import products into the foreign trade zone, and in a sense, it just is, it's countryless. So you avoid tariffs and tax on that until such time that that leaves the foreign trade zone. Now, you can use it in a variety of different manners. You can use it in manufacturing, excuse me. For instance, if you import multiple pieces, and they use a bicycle as an example, and I'll stick with that. So you import all of these pieces into your foreign trade zone and you assemble a bicycle. When that bicycle leaves the foreign trade zone, the benefit is that you're not taxed at every one of those pieces that went into building that bicycle. You're taxed at the lowest rate of whatever one piece that went into that bicycle as it leaves the door, because it's now completely different. To put it into like our backyard energy development, back before the world has gone completely insane, there was companies that would, let's say, import drill pipe for drilling, for oil and gas drilling from Russia. There would be a tax that would be attached to that. So if you were a company that viewed, hey, possibly in the future, we'll have an administration change that will look more favorable upon oil production, I'd like to build my inventory of drill pipe and have it in the yard, you could designate that yard as a foreign trade zone, and as long as that pipe sits there, it would not be taxed until such time as that left. So there's multiple ways of using it. However, the savings that it provides, you have to be at a certain scale. So, or in a business in which it is extraordinarily prohibitive tax-wise to bring it in. Trump's policy exempt China, which that was a really big part of that. Now you can still delay it, but that tariff never goes away. So those are, it changed a little bit of that. So you still have to do that. And hopefully I didn't make that really like muddled. I should have just stayed with the bicycle. I hope if clear as mud now.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate that. There are businesses that would leverage that and potentially locate a third-party logistics provider, a 3PL warehouse, where they could ship directly to their customers from that location, and it doesn't become taxed until it leaves the foreign trade zone. Is that correct?
That's
so. So it's very popular in California. There are other locations, but for us to have one is pretty cool.
Yeah, and so we're speaking with a company right now that uses California, right? And so their biggest issue is that it hits California and then you are stuck in Long Beach at a facility that you have to pay every day that it sits there before it clears customs to go to their facility. And that costs that company money. So, Casper by no means is a logistical hub. It's always been a challenge for us. However, as the rest of the country, namely California, Portland, Seattle, have policy and make it more difficult for these people, we've become a very attractive place to do that. So I would just add Dale, who is our foreign or our customs agent, we've invited him to speak at a number of our events, and he has fantastic stories of high wealth individuals, countries, people that use our airport to clear customs because it's just so much more convenient than going to San Francisco or LAX. So he has stories about having coffee with Sir Paul McCartney and talking to the Rolling Stones, and just anyhow, he'd be a fun guy to have come talk. So along staying with the theme of the airport, Advanced Casper has spun up another board and entity called Fly Casper Alliance, which was a result of the minimum revenue guarantee that SkyWest was imposing on our Delta connection. While we were doing that, that is obviously the biggest fire in the room that we're trying to address and secure that. Your community is only as good as your access. We're really trying to work hard to keep that connection. It's that conversation, I can say, is getting tiresome for both our county commissioners and from the standpoint of the board for Fly Casper Alliance. But as a result of that, we don't want to just, that's what we do. So as a result of forming this entity, we have also started a scholarship program for pilots. So we wanted to address their workforce service or their big pain, right? Like that the reason that the MRG exists is because of their labor shortages. So we are partnered with Casper College and the airport to help bolster that pilot program. We've also are exploring an intrastate connection that has been spoke about before and has existed in some manner. We would like to expand that pilot program to include mechanics, again, with the help of our Casper College, that they can develop that workforce here. That SkyWest will immediately, after the kids get their pilot's license, they will immediately accept them into their program in St. George, Utah. So we have that relationship too. Again, just trying to address the things that is a pain point for everybody. On the private side of our advanced Casper, switching gears a little bit, we participate in and facilitate what was the state's only organized venture capital group, which was Breakthrough 307, an angel investment group. We have 23 high net worth individuals. Cheyenne Leeds participates, the University of Wyoming participates, and Advanced Casper participates. So we have the two largest communities in the university, and then these high net worth individuals that we've made multiple investments. We've deployed their the first fund has been fully deployed. We're in our second fund. We are currently working on an application to do a secondary fund. That's a $15 million fund that would be separate from the Breakthrough 307. Along that, we also had an equity crowdfunding platform that if your company didn't fit into venture capital, that you could raise equity using this platform and structure it any way that you would like to. If you're a coffee shop, a restaurant, whatever it might be, that we would have an avenue for you to do that as well. Now, this all spurred from prior to having Breakthrough 307 or any kind of venture capital infrastructure or ecosystem. If you were a young person with a big idea or an old person with a big idea, it doesn't matter, and you needed to go scale that and you needed to go find venture capital, you had to leave the state, right? You had to go to Colorado or Silicon Valley or whatever. So we saw that as a gap that we needed to plug in order to keep our young talent in Wyoming. As a result of that, we've deployed somewhere in the neighborhood of $3.4 million, creating 270 jobs, 140 of which are in Wyoming. So we feel like this is something that we can continue to grow on. The state is now coming to this space as well. And so we are trying to work with them to figure out just exactly how we can do that and keep the deal flow and keep those Wyoming companies in Wyoming. I think, and I'm going to look at Ron, and more importantly, or as important as keeping those companies and those people here, is keeping that investment and capital here as well, so that that capital doesn't leave Wyoming as well as the businesses. So we've had some success here of late with relocating some businesses here. Thankfully, they've all brought their workforce with them. Otherwise, we would be in a little more of a pinch than we already are. I mean, we're fully employed here. Everybody would hire, and this is all things that are certainly not foreign to this group. One of our, the Pacific Northwest seems to be where we're having the most luck, and I think that less on, Justin Farley charming anybody into moving to Casper, Wyoming, but more on the policies of those states that have made it difficult for those companies to exist. I myself am from Pendleton, Oregon. I owned a small business. I would like to please clarify that Pendleton is Eastern Oregon, which They're currently trying to join Idaho. They're very much like the politics of Wyoming, very agriculturally based and conservative. So my friend that has a brewery there, everything that he makes is brewed in the state of Eastern Oregon. So there's a very clear distinction, and I just wanted to make that clear. So EVI, which is they located here, they're a medical device company. They build a femoral artery stent. I don't recommend the movie. It's it's actually extraordinary technology that the femoral artery is in the inside of your knee. It's one of the most used, but if any, if you have any heart issue or you have that clogging of the arteries at your heart, the femoral artery is the next place that it goes. In the past, you'd have to do an incision and a bypass in the whole leg, which is again why I don't recommend the movie. What they have is a device that goes and cleans that artery and then places a stent in there. They have their patents. The patents are issued here now in Casper, Wyoming, which is very exciting. They just hired an engineer out of Idaho that is helping them set up their manufacturing. So we're very happy to see them here in our medical community. Again, Banner, Wyoming Health, what was our county hospital. We have 300 plus doctors that call Natrona County or Casper area home. So we really see that as an asset that we want to continue to build off of. So medical devices and bioscience is something that we've identified as an industry that we'd like to go after. Titus Wastewater Systems, Lewis does a lot of stuff. Important. He has a patented enormous aerator that goes in lagoon systems that he has rotomold in Eastern Oregon, ironically, but has talked to Wild Gear about possibly getting to the scale where they can do that. They also have composite manhole covers. He does business all over the West. They called Casper home now. They've brought 3 families with them, their workforce basically, which all have kids that are in our schools, all are here and have made it through last winter, which let's hope, they can stay. This winter, hopefully, it just seems like, nothing. 40 Rentals, which is a gun smithing business out of Montana, Washington State with their recent gun laws caused a company by the name of Icarus to relocate here from Washington State. I think there's still some opportunity there, and especially as their policy goes. So that's something we also have identified as watching legislation from other states to see what kind of livelihood they're jeopardizing so that we can, as a community, can reach out to them and be welcoming. Scottsdale Mint, which if you guys have not toured that, I would highly recommend. They're a phenomenal company. They bought the old Star Tribune building. So they like we have the silver dollar or the gold eagle that US mints here, or the maple leaf in Canada. They do that for 25 other countries. And they'll be doing that out of Casper, Wyoming. They still have ties to Scottsdale, but most of their management and leadership have now relocated to Casper, Wyoming. They have a series of vault systems in there. It's basically a private Fort Knox. And again, if I'm sure that Josh would be happy to arrange a walkthrough of that. It's just a phenomenal asset. I don't know how many families they've moved here, but they single-handedly disrupted our real estate market for a little bit because I knew 5 people that sold their house to somebody that was connected to Scottsdale Mint, right? And so really good data there. But they when you're in a small community, there's no sneaking in, right? So they're great. They're going to they have plans for expanding off of just the mint part. in that they're going to participate in the foreign trade zone as well, in hopes of using one of their vaults and designating it as a foreign trade zone so that you can put high, like valuable historic documents or pieces of art or whatever, and it, again, is countryless, and it can sit in there until the owner or whomever decides what they want to do with that. They're going to be a lot of fun to watch. So that I think that the trajectory of Casper, when we kind of step back and look, and as I was actually working on this, it's amazing how we're growing. And it's difficult when you're in it all the time to recognize that. But it really does kind of boil back down to that workforce and how everybody is looking. And if those companies hadn't moved their workforce with them, or they weren't willing to do that, we would be in a really difficult situation. So I brought with me a handout as like specifically what our organization is trying to do to address part of this. We've partnered with Visit Casper, which we recognize tourism as being a very successful part of Wyoming, a growing industry, also attracting people to come visit, right? So it's only logical that somebody visits a community before they go back and pick up their business and they, oh, we're moving to Wyoming, right? So you come and visit, you put that in your mind's eye of what's that look like if I could move there, or would I want to move there? So initially, our Visit Casper, they'd send out a piece that would be like, hey, here's 10 reasons to visit Casper. And then we would follow that up with, here's 5 reasons to move your business to Wyoming, right? So that they're parallel, and we're messaging our community specifically, which I think are, other than tourism, I believe that the rest of the state has difficulty in messaging our state outside of the state, and truly, like boiling it down to each community. Like it's our responsibility. This is not a dig on that. It's just, we recognize that nobody's really going to promote Casper, Wyoming, and nor should they from the state level, because that'd get you in trouble, or pick a community, right? So we've decided just to own that. We view the relationship with Visit Casper as a very strong one. We try to work very closely together. This is livability, which this is the tangible item or the hard copy of the digital presence that we're trying to do. And I'll leave these here for anyone who wants to take a look at them or have them. The goal is not to have these in every kitchen table in Casper or in Wyoming for that matter. The goal is to have these out. We use them in relocation guides, we look at visit guides, whatever. If anybody inquires on our community, we send this out. So we recognized some time ago that our digital identity was bad, to say it nicely. You would Google Casper, Wyoming if you did some time ago, and you would get content that nobody wanted to see. And we recognize that as a community, just, looking at ourselves in the mirror of like, why do we live here? And what's special about this place? And do we want it to, is this the message that we want the rest of the world to look at? As a result of that, we built a landing page called Choose Casper, Choose CPR, which we recruited community members. And again, this was not to be an advanced Casper thing or a visit or a chamber or anything. It wanted to be a grassroots community page where we had ambassadors that volunteered their own personal contact information for people to, if you're interested in kayak, contact Bob. And, picture Bob, and he lives in Casper, and that's what he likes to do, right? I believe it's Eric, but we'll call him Bob. So in that personal contact information, so wherever you are in the country, you would immediately have that personal relationship with somebody in our community, which is the best advocacy that you can have and the best content that you can have as to why people choose to live in Casper, Wyoming. So that was our first step, and it was brought about, again, A, with the content that was out there that was existing, and B, from a recruitment standpoint. We had a local company that's in the tech sector, and we don't have much of a tech sector in Casper, Wyoming, and we certainly recognize that. And when they were recruiting people up here, they, of course, would look at view our community from their phone, right? And that content cost that company from really good, legitimate candidates from, even coming to visit. So it's been it's not an overnight where you change that. So that's the first step that we took to start to clean up our digital identity, I would say. Livability came about. Again, this is just the hard copy of what we do digitally, which is, again, we're just trying to build that library of content so that it better depicts our community. So we understand that you can't pay people to live in Casper. That's been the model in the past in energy development, the cyclical, like, we have every other license plate's Texas when you're dropping the kids off at school. That's when you know things are really humming around here. We recognize, but then when things slow down, those people are pulled back to Houston or Oklahoma or wherever they originated, and here we are again. So we wanted to, instead of pay those people in that energy development, in that sector, is we want to really promote the livability of our community, right? And so that, to attract young workforce, attract companies, retain companies, and really, again, it's been a good exercise in our own, looking at our own community from a citizen standpoint. So I will leave these here. It's fantastic, and it's a long play. It's also how we, you send that to companies that are of interest, or whomever is accessing this stuff online, we're getting that data. If it's a bunch of bots in India, we get that too. But if it's Washington State or California or Colorado, whomever is looking at that, this allows us that tool then to be specific in our marketing and who we're looking for. We've done our aerospace and defense event every year as a hope to introduce the relationships between the companies in Colorado that do like $30 billion worth of aerospace work a year to our companies in Casper, Wyoming specifically, or Mills or Natrona County, that have the workforce and the skill to build whatever you want, just to help diversify that bottom line. So we'll continue to do that. We work with our higher education, with Casper College and Pathways, again, to facilitate those. I think there could be some advantage to maybe thinking a little outside of the box, or getting our placement people in the colleges to think outside of the box. I mean, I have my equity analyst, Goose, who I had mentioned earlier, is like, he's a chemical engineer with an MBA. You wouldn't think he's going to go into finance, but he's smart out of his head, and he fits really well. And I hope he doesn't watch this, because I don't want to boost his ego too much. But he's just a great kid. And anyhow, I think Wyoming, how we all wear so many different hats, that, it doesn't have to say finance in order for you. If it does say finance, it doesn't mean you have to go work at a bank, or it doesn't, we can be creative in that and keep our young talent here, and working with our employers to see what those degrees or what that education can overlap with what they're doing, to help them move along. So with that, that's a lot of talking, and probably ran over, but I'd be happy to take any questions. Better make sure I don't have another, nope, we're good.
Thank you for that, Justin. I appreciate that. No, that was great. Before I open it up to everybody for questions, how does the advanced Casper model get funded currently?
So operations gets funded through the city with a franchise tax and the county. And part of the county is projects that we've done, whether it's infrastructure, sewer, water that runs out past the airport or the crude to rail. And that was prior to my time that we built out to supply the rail yard. We get a portion of every rail car that comes through. So it's a bunch of different stuff. Yeah.
Great.
So, but that operational side is just for salaries and rent and health insurance and marketing and things of that nature. That when they talk about the venture capital side, that's all in the advanced Casper stuff, the
Understood.
private sector.
Great, thank you. And for anybody who hasn't seen it, the Advanced Casper page, which is advancedcasper.com, is outstanding. The landing page you were referencing, Choose CPR, or
Yes.
Choose Casper, is also great. I love the kind of connect with the local ambassador photography and, you know, the individuals that you can just kind of reach out to in different spaces, whether it's family or entrepreneurship or tourism, and just make that direct connection. That's pretty cool. I like that.
It had sat for a little, it was being neglected, and I can say this, it was being treated like a redheaded stepchild for a minute, and I resemble that remark. So we've now, it lives at Visit Casper, and they work on the updating and all of that. So it's going to it's being worked on as we speak. So.
Great, thank you. But I will open it up to the council. Any questions for Justin?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Bria.
Justin, so less of a question, more of a observation comment. So I live in the tourism sector and just want to applaud you for recognizing the important connection between tourism and economic development, and just so urge you to continue to lean into that. Like you said, having that handshake as a tourist, but then being able to then follow up with them and continue to let them know why this should be the place that they actually live and bring all of their goodness. So yeah, I've been following it for sure, what you guys are doing, and it's great work. So thank you.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your great work. It really, I mean, when you think about a company, I've owned a couple different businesses myself, is people that own that, right? So you don't know who's visiting your community. They could have all sorts of great stuff. So yeah, and we're so relationship based. It's amazing to see those people come through Visit Casper, and tourism specifically has done a great job of just really being welcoming. I mean, break records every year, it seems like. Here locally we have, and Tyler, who's a new recruit and head of our Visit Casper, is again, I hope he's not watching this either, dang it. But yeah, he's a great guy and a great asset to our community.
Yes, Tammy, please.
Thank you. I was just curious about housing. You were talking about keeping young people here, and I have 3 young people in my life that want to live here. What's it like here for housing and for people to find housing?
It's a challenge. So we have that conversation quite a bit. It's less on the affordability side because depending on where you're coming from, right? Like the Scottsdale men guys think they went from an entry level in Scottsdale to 3,500 square feet and don't know what to do with themselves type of deal. But we have private groups that are trying to address that. There is a feeling among the community that we have enough of the subsidized type living that we need to equal that out a little bit, especially in our downtown area, where you now have that Nolan project that has, you should buy one of those. They're very beautiful, $950,000 townhomes right next to David Street Station. So that's an extreme example, but they're also looking at market rate, high density housing in the downtown area. That's very exciting. You know, you look at like Lodo and what it did in Colorado, and I'm not suggesting we have a Lodo, but we're going to have we're going to Wyomingize that, right? It's going to be some version of that, and I think that's a first step. So apartments, housing, you know, just everybody struggles with the cost of all that. Our main developers here, I see that they're slowing down, maybe both because of the weather, but also with the, you know, crazy interest rates in the business atmosphere that we have going into. There's a lot of unknowns. So hopefully we come out on the other end of that and have that ability to build out. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Justin?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Mayor Hall?
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Farley, and it sounds like there's a lot of great things. In fact, I'm envious of the platform of diversification you have within your business community. It sounds something that I'd like to have in my area. I kind of wanted to piggyback on Tammy's housing question. Can you just like briefly, what's the climate you think for the economy in Casper? How's that going? And then you touched on it briefly. I was wondering, you have a lot of, you know, when you do have people that come in and look, I wonder how many other gun manufacturers you have in the area as well.
So I'll take that last one first, because we have a gun manufacturer that we're quite a ways down the road on who wants to use the foreign trade zone. They're an international company. And so it's definitely an opportunity. That industry is an opportunity. And so we've identified that in addition to medical, bioscience, the aerospace and defense, and then in that manufacturing piece. So hopefully we'll have some kind of, again, it's not my responsibility to make their announcement for them. I'll let them happen. In the workforce, again, we just had a meeting at Casper College, and you know, like Wyoming Machinery, I think, has 60 open positions, you know, right now. And you talk about the other manufacturers that we can talk about Austin, because that's public, that, you know, they're going to double their workforce. That prevents a real challenge. But if I have an employer, if I have a company, for instance, that calls and says, hey, we'd like to come to Casper and we need 500 people, I unfortunately we can't have that. That's a conversation ending unless they want to scale that, right? Because I'm optimistic. I believe that we can grow that. The more we address why we live here, the livability component, the Casper Mountain, the river, the stuff that we all cherish here, I think we will have that attractiveness, whether it's from communities within Wyoming or outside of Wyoming. I think it's also logical that you grow your urban, you know, and I use air quotes, but Casper is an urban area for Wyoming in Wyoming standards. I think it's only logical that you grow those areas, and as you grow that's where first growth will take place. And then as you grow that, the people that are living here are like, you know, God, Casper's got too damn big, you know, I'm going to move. And then that's where everybody else benefits, right? And not to pick on any community, but to like attract somebody from Fort Collins to, you know, go to pick any small town is a stretch, right? But for here, it's a little tricky. It's like, Justin, you know, do a good job, but don't do too good of a job, because my fishing hole's already kind of crowded, and, you know, so. But I think, and I'm getting off on the point a little bit, but I think that what people need to understand, and certainly Casper is starting to understand, is that growth is coming. And so if you don't put your narrative out there and you don't tell your community story, then you're going to have people with these preconceived notions that are like, well, you know, you haven't been doing this right, and they come in with their own agenda. And so that's really what we view our role as, this livability component. You'll see in there that there is, like, we're just trying to give our community identity and our ambassadors that they can reach out to, so that, you know, that our story is being told, and so that we're attracting the people that, will, frankly, blossom in this area.
And Mr. Chairman, I just kind of wanted just to drill down on one thing there. And to your point, Casper's the second, and I guess even if you include the surrounding areas, probably maybe almost the largest area of population inside of the state of Wyoming. And so I think that's kind of where I was wondering about is, you've told us a lot of good things going on. I just kind of wonder how is the economy going? Because if you see it kind of starting to soften, or if you see it actually growing in this area, then that probably has a pretty collateral effect on the rest of the state. And so that's why I was only trying to ask as far as that. And just, briefly, I think if you could kind of hit on that. Maybe.
Sorry, and I have ADHD when it comes to a lot of stuff, but I would say our economy is as good as I've seen it. And I moved here in the late 90s, opened a franchise. I've been here on and off for about 25 years. And again, thankfully for developing this, random presentation, it's just that step back. And it is all diversified. Not any of the companies that we have locating here are connected to the energy sector. Now, the energy sector is quietly doing really well. Not new development, right? We're not getting new wells permitted due to the administration that we currently have. But if the owners of that infrastructure and the owners of the stuff that you need to get that crude and that natural gas moved around, they're all quietly doing pretty well. So I would say our economy, as evidence of the outside investment of, Cronky's not building 300,000 square feet of stuff because he thinks it's a loser, right? And the expansion of the businesses in the energy sector, but not particularly in exploration, but more on the other side of it, I think speaks really well for our community and in our economics. Like Cheyenne, and I do like picking on Cheyenne. Economic development in Cheyenne is, hey, we're 90 minutes away from Denver, right? Where Casper, we're just far enough away from everything that if we want it, we have to build it. I really believe that this is a big experiment for Wyoming, when you're talking about a more populated area, right? So if you're in Cheyenne, your hairdresser might be in Fort Collins, or your favorite boutique shop, or what have you. If we want that, we have to build it. And that's what we've been known to do. We're very fortunate to have some excellent families that live here that still call it home and invest back into our community. And without that, it would look very different. But yeah, we just have to get it done, right? And it's just the way that we look at it. And so that also, that internal investment, we all take that for granted. And they're still very active and doing a bunch of different projects, but in housing and different stuff. It's not just energy development. And then that outside investment, I think, again, a long-winded answer is that we're doing really well as far as the economy here. I think we're gonna have some massive growth going forward.
Thank you. Love the creative solution to the MRG issue and trying to train, I guess, local pilots and potentially mechanics. I think that's brilliant. I'd love to hear more about that at some point. Any other questions for Justin? Justin, thank you very much. That was a great presentation. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And I'll leave these at the door.
Great. That would be great. Yeah, we have a table set up over here, I think, somewhere. Excellent. We're going to move right into Wyoming Relay with Lori Slinsky. Thank you. Yeah. Minimum revenue guarantee. Communities. Service in the communities. Have that in Riverton and share it. Yeah. So it's kind of ridiculous. But if you hit a certain minimum level of flight complainants, then they kind of rebate that to you. But nobody ever does. So these communities are just paying to keep air service. Yeah, right. Lori, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and council members, for this opportunity to present about Wyoming Relay. I am very passionate about our program and the people we serve. And so again, I appreciate having this moment to tell you a little bit about some of the important things that we do and how that might impact you. So Wyoming Relay is a program under the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. And Councilmember Harper asked me to kind of go over the program and how it connects to workforce development. Wyoming Relay has three main component services. The relay service, which provides a connection between individuals that are deaf, hard of hearing, or have a speech impairment, and standard phone users. There is a communication assistant or a relay operator that assists in processing those calls from individuals using specialized equipment or that have special needs. Another component is the equipment program. We distribute specialized telecommunication equipment from old-fashioned landline, simple-to-use phones. We don't have the rotary dial ones anymore, but we still have large push-button phones that a lot of our seniors still use. And we also distribute tablets, smartphones, both Android, Apple-based, all kinds of accessories, signaling devices, basically anything equipment-wise that somebody with a communication impairment may need to make a phone call. And then kind of the third leg of the stool is deaf services, which provides training, outreach, information, and referral. Probably the most frequent calls we receive asking for assistance is related to finding interpreters, sign language interpreters, and also questions about resources for hearing aids. We receive a number of those calls, and then everything else kind of in between related to hearing loss. We provide services statewide. Our office is located in Casper, but we load equipment and travel to all corners of the state. We are a small program. We have 2 full-time equivalent staff, myself, the program manager, an equipment distribution specialist, and then we have 1 AWAC physician that processes all our carrier remittances. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that here in a minute. Go ahead. So what is the purpose of relay service? The purpose of relay service is to provide functional equivalent telecommunication access. It was mandated by Title IV of the Americans with Disability Act. It is in state statute. Every state has a relay program. Not every state has equipment distribution program, but most do. That was written into our state statutes. Excuse me, one of the things that the Federal Communication Commission requires, which is who establishes the rules for our program and certifies us, is that we also provide education and outreach to inform and educate the public about the relay services. One of the things that I want to emphasize, because a lot of people think, oh, that's just a program for individuals that are deaf. It's a lot more than that, because every call that an individual makes, every communication situation, or the majority of them, is to that individual's family, friends, or businesses. So that is you, me, the doctor, the school, the college, to place an order, to purchase something, that is to everyone. And so that is why our tagline is a call anyone can make, because it's truly not just for this small segment of the population, but for the larger population as well. The state statutes refer to communication impairments, which is generally individuals with some hearing loss or speech disability. But many of the individuals we serve have additional disabilities. So they may have a hearing loss and also vision impairments or mobility, dexterity, cognitive, et cetera. And so we will customize our solution for them. You may ask how we're funded. We are funded by a special fee. All of you pay a few cents on your telephone bill. It's currently 4 cents, and that funds the program. We use no state or federal funds for our funding. We have an advisory committee appointed by the governor, and they determine that fee every year. As I mentioned, it's currently 4 cents. It'll probably, unfortunately, be going to 10 cents this next year. Okay, so I hope that you may be asking, why is she talking about this? And why is this important to me? And what does this have to do with workforce development? Hopefully, maybe I can answer that question for you. Hearing loss is the third most prevalent chronic condition in America. It is the most common service-connected disability, hearing loss and tinnitus. And the number of Americans with hearing loss is increasing. If you look at this map, one of the things that concerns me most is down in the corner in the southeast part of the United States, you see the number 1 in 5. 1 in 5 is the number of teenagers that have some level of hearing loss. And so the prevalence of hearing loss is not going to decrease anytime in the near future, unfortunately. It is increasing, and there's a number of reasons for that. Before I get to that, though, I want to draw some attention to some of the impacts. In the last couple of years, there's been a number of studies that have looked at the correlation between hearing loss and other conditions, as well as economic impact. And one of the things that has come out is the correlation between hearing loss and dementia, as well as heart attack, falls, and other problems. And the cost to society is tremendous. The cost to healthcare, hospital stays, and in the workforce. And I have some data on that here in a minute. So next slide. So you may also be wondering, a lot of people think that the majority of hearing loss is genetic. The leading cause of hearing loss is exposure to loud noise. And the second leading cause is aging. So now we're starting to circle back to why this is important in workforce development. So next slide. This is probably not news to you. You hopefully have talked about it before, but Wyoming's population is aging. It's aging faster than the United States population, and our workforce is aging. Individuals are staying in the workforce longer than they have in the past. Some of that is by choice, and some of that is not by choice. But our workforce is aging, for better or worse. And as we age, the prevalence of hearing loss increases. Next slide. The other part of that is in Wyoming, a lot of the industries contribute to hearing loss, occupational hearing loss. If you look at the leading industries connected to hearing loss, you'll see mining is up there, construction, armed services, as I already mentioned, and they're one of the leading researchers in both preventing and curing hearing loss. But these are the industries of Wyoming. Agriculture. There's a high prevalence of hearing loss in agriculture, manufacturing as well. And so this is occurring, and it's impacting individuals, both employers and employees. There's information that says unaided hearing loss individuals earn $20,000 less annually than those without treated hearing loss. So it's a significant impact to both workers and employers. And that's part of why recognizing that and providing services in that area is important. So a little bit more about the services that we provide and how that process works. On the equipment distribution program, individuals have to have, to receive the equipment at no charge, they have to have a speech disability, be hard of hearing, deaf-blind. They must be a resident of Wyoming, and they have to demonstrate that they have the ability to use the equipment. So we don't have age limits. Personally, the youngest individual that I served, I think, was 6, and the oldest was over 100. So we serve all age groups as long as they can utilize the equipment. We have income guidelines that are 400% of the federal poverty level to receive the equipment free of charge. If they're over that level, they can share in the cost of the equipment, up to 50% of the cost, or $500. So for example, if we're working with somebody with a speech disability that needs an iPad with speech generating software, and they may need a mount for a wheelchair, that equipment and that setup may cost several $1,000s. Most of those individuals would be eligible to receive it free, but if they were over those guidelines, the most they would pay is $500 to have that equipment provided through our program. The program is designed for individuals, but we also have a loan program, and businesses, basically anybody can use the loan program to borrow equipment for employees, for themselves, to see how something works, to see if it would be a solution for them. If they have equipment that's broken and is being sent in for repair, they can use the loan program in that instance as well. The loan program is designed for short-term, generally 2 weeks, but we can extend that. And we also provide all kinds of technical assistance and information and referral. And in fact, that's one of the growing areas that we see our request to provide that technical assistance. So what can we do for employers and in terms of business support? Some of the services, and this list is by no means comprehensive, but some of the things that we can do is assist in recruiting, hiring, retention of employees with hearing loss. So if you have an employee that's struggling on the job as a result of a hearing loss, we can come in and help problem solve and develop some accommodations so that they can perform that job better. We can provide assistance in finding and using qualified sign language interpreters, providing captioning. I noticed here with the increased use of video conferencing, platforms have gotten better at allowing for captioning. A lot of times entities don't know how to turn on and utilize those captions. And just like in bars, we go to bars, most of them have the TV set with captions on, not because they think all their patrons are going to have hearing loss, but because captioning provides, facilitates communication for everybody. And so that's another area that we can assist with. Certainly anything related to the telephone. We get calls related to service animals. There's a lot of miscommunication and misinformation about what constitutes a service animal, when they're required, when they're not, and we can provide information on that. And then also signaling equipment. Next slide. Some future challenges are some issues for us. The relay service component of the program was built on analog telephones and analog telephone services. As you all know, those are disappearing. They are being phased out. There are internet forms of relay, and those are the fastest growing relay services out there. However, currently those services are under the federal jurisdiction, not the state's jurisdiction. We provide technical assistance on those forms of relay, training, education. We provide internet relay capable equipment, but we don't have jurisdiction over the service right now. There is a possibility that that may be moved to the state level. That's gone back and forth like a political football in the last many years. And we certainly have our eye on those developments to see what's going to happen with that. Innovation and medical advancements. As I mentioned, the Pentagon, for example, has poured in a ton of money in research to try to cure and prevent hearing loss. It is a significant impact for veterans, and they are making huge strides. Surprisingly, so one of the things that happen with hearing loss, you have these hair cells in your inner ear, and a lot of times that's what gets damaged. In humans, once it's damaged, it's damaged. You can use a hearing aid or a cochlear implant, but it does not restore your hearing like wearing glasses. The sound is still distorted and it doesn't come back the same. But there are species, birds, zebrafish. I'm always intrigued how they figured out zebrafish have hearing and that they can regenerate those cells. But they can, and that's where a lot of the research is going, is actually to the possibility of curing hearing loss by turning on the capability to regenerate those hair cells. So that, and then technology is just advancing at rapid pace, and I think that probably in my lifetime we may see a cure. But in the meantime, every day there's new technology that comes out, and we're trying to stay abreast of that so we can provide that technical assistance. Another thing that hugely impacts us and ties into what you do is broadband enhancement. Broadband is critical for individuals with hearing loss that are using telecommunication. If you are an individual that is deaf and you use sign language, then the most common way that you choose to communicate for phone calls is to make video calls or use a video remote interpreter. If you don't have accessible, affordable internet, that's one problem. But on top of that, if you don't have the speed and you freeze, you've lost the communication. It's not the same as audio cutting out because sign language involves both the hand motion, the face, lip movement, the body space, and freezing or not enough speed just totally destroys the ability to have effective communication. And so that ensuring broadband affordability, accessibility, and speed is critical for this population. And then the other thing that we're seeing is, unfortunately, there still exists a digital divide, and we especially see this generationally. A lot of our seniors have not adapted broadband to the extent that we would like to see them adopt them. They struggle with it. And oftentimes there's not the support out there. Individuals will walk into a Verizon or a Union Wireless store, a T-Mobile store, and the staff there have very little training in accessibility features, how to activate those features, how to help those individuals. And so there's certainly a need for that. We have partnered with the State Museum, who have a fabulous program to train seniors. It's a 6-week program, and it starts with the very basic of this is how you turn on your iPad, to going through all the steps so that they can fully utilize those devices and the features. And we come in and do a part on accessibility. And my hope is that with all the money that's pouring in for broadband enhancement, we'll see those services expand and more opportunities to provide that training and support for those individuals to utilize that service. I know that I have thrown a lot of information at you in a short period of time. I hope you find that helpful. I would entertain any questions that any of you have, and I thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Lori? No? You've covered it all. Well, thank you very much for coming and presenting to us. Perfectly timed as well. Moving to the business training and support unit update. So Shay and Sharon and Ivy. I think we have 3 microphones. Yeah, we have 3 microphones up there too. Well done, Lori.
Wasn't intentional.
All right, are you ready?
Ready, thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. It is so good to be here with you all today in person for this meeting. My name is Shay Moon, and I am the program manager for the Business Training and Support Unit at DWS. I've been with the department for about 16 and a half years, but just came into my current role with this unit in 2021. Since I came to this unit, man, we have just grown exponentially, and it's just been so exciting to be a part of that growth and development with this team. I know that we'll continue to develop and grow as we continue to try to meet the needs of the Wyoming workforce. The Workforce Development Training Fund program and apprenticeship programs comprise our two larger programs in this unit. We also have our materials set up outside today if you want to grab some of those, and I believe that Ivy has already passed out some of our new brochures as well, so just excited to see what everybody thinks of those. Not including ourselves, we have 2 additional staff members who serve the Workforce Development Training Fund. In addition, we have 5 long-term temp employees who serve WDTF. And I can tell you that we could not do this work without them. They are critical for us to be able to run this program efficiently and do the work that we're called to do in this unit. We have 1 additional staff member who serves apprenticeships alongside Ivy, and then we have a dedicated staff member for each of our new ARPA programs, the healthcare grant, which we refer to as Y Health Train, and the pre-apprenticeship grant that you will hear more about in just a minute. I'm now going to turn it over to Sharon Geisler to take a deeper dive into the training fund and new Y Healthcare Train grant. She will then hand it over to Ivy Moore, who will share more information on all the things happening with apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship, as well as the brand new apprenticeship hub that we mentioned a little bit yesterday as well. So turn it over to you, Sharon. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Chairman and council members. I really greatly appreciate being here. I've been with DWS for about 4.5 years under this program and have watched it grow from 2 people to the team that we have now. And we do have our training grants that I want to share a little bit of information about with you and then answer any questions that you have for these specific grants. So the first training grant that we have is the one that's been around for the longest period of time, and it's our business training grant. That was set up to help Wyoming businesses who have a need to either upskill their employees or continue getting them training for their professional development. And so this grant is one that the businesses would apply for, and the business is eligible for up to $75,000 each fiscal year. That does renew for each fiscal year. And then they have a budget of up to $2,000 for each of their employees to go to training. And then for those that are in the preferred industries, which you have set, they have up to $3,000 to use towards their training budget. It is an application process that we have changed recently to go to once a month, where we have a window that we're accepting applications that first week. We accept applications throughout that entire week, and then we go through and review them for the eligibility components and then for what that training might look like and for the trainees that are going. And in fiscal year 23, wanted to let you know that we approved 614 grants for Wyoming businesses supporting 1,372 trainees. In this fiscal year, which started in July, so for these first 4 months, we've approved 61 grants supporting 185 trainees. So wanted to let you know that it is well used and appreciated, and a lot of businesses appreciate the ability to send their trainees to training that helps them and their business. We have another grant, it's called the internship grant. This was rolled out in the pandemic and was utilized by a lot of businesses to continue getting that workforce to help them during that pandemic timeframe, and then as we were emerging. This grant allows businesses to host internships to give those individuals that work experience and that learning opportunity. We do ask that it's mentored, and we ask that the mentors don't manage more than 2 interns at a time. And we have put some parameters around this grant recently that will allow up to $18 an hour to support those intern wages. The businesses can certainly pay more than that, but that's what we'll reimburse up to. And then we will reimburse up to 480 hours for the internship. So if they're working full-time, that gives them about 3 months of work experience. If they're working part-time, they can go up to 6 months. We are asking now as well that these are new employees that are brought on board specifically for that internship opportunity. And businesses are able to bring up to 3 internships per state fiscal year. Under this grant, back in fiscal year 23, we approved 162 grants supporting 374 interns. The data that we've been collecting, and I have to admit that it started in the middle of a fiscal year, so we don't have full fiscal year information. But what we're learning is that about 50% of those interns are hired after they finish the internship and then stay with the employer. So we think that that's a really great percentage, while hiring is not a requirement because most of them are still students. It is that opportunity. In these first 4 months of fiscal year 24, we have approved 32 grants supporting 39 interns. DWS was recently awarded a funding opportunity under the WIP initiative, the Wyoming Innovative Partnership funding opportunity that's going through the governor's office. And we propose to be able to support more internships. We wanted to specifically help the young adults. And so this grant funding opportunity supports interns that are between the ages of 16 to 24, and that they're students during this time of the internship grant. So the Wyoming businesses submit an application under the regular process that we have, and then we will sort them. And if they do fall under that category of the intern fitting those parameters, we'll fund it under that funding source. And then the other internship applications we fund under WDTF. We started that in June of 23, and for those summer internships, we were able to support 20 grants under those parameters and 24 interns. Under this WIP funding, the University of Wyoming is also working with other businesses, other industries for their initiatives. And so we're really reaching out to those industry partners to really try and help with that internship opportunity. And so we've been working with a lot of businesses and UW to get the internship relationship with the partners and the businesses. It's gone really well. And then within these 4 months of fiscal year 24, we've approved 12 grants supporting 21 interns. So it's a very popular grant. Under the WIP funding, we do have enough funding that we're hoping to be able to support 110 interns, just under that. Another grant that we support is the Pre-Hire Economic Development Training Grant. This is a grant that was put in place to help businesses when the workforce is not a specific skill set and needs some training for them to even be hired on and brought within that business. And so it's a collaboration of the businesses and reaching out to a Wyoming training provider to let them know that there's a need and that they need those individuals trained up. It's also a collaboration with the economic development entities that also support that training need, and the workforce centers, because the workforce centers will help identify potential trainees to go through that training and then also get them placed after they've been trained. One of the performance measures for this grant is that we get the trainees through the training and then they find employment within 90 days after that training. So we have that grant, and then we have another what we used to call a grant, but I've learned that we need to get a little bit more clarity around the description of what this is. We've called it the pre-obligation grant since I've been here, and we've dived into that a little bit more because we are starting to talk to businesses to utilize this option. And I wanted to clarify that it's truly not a grant. We do have rules around it about how we utilize it, but it's not a grant on its own. It is a funding opportunity that the legislature has made available to Wyoming economic development entities as they're working with businesses, talking about moving to Wyoming or wanting to expand and needing to increase their workforce. This funding opportunity can be put aside, can be looked at by the businesses and by the economic development entities to determine how much is that going to cost to get that workforce trained up to either come here or to expand. And what they do is they come to us and they ask us to pre-obligate that funding and set it aside. And then they'll utilize that training, those funds through the business training grant or through the pre-hire grant, but we've set it aside to help them so that they know that they can increase their workforce. So we're calling it a pre-obligation funding opportunity as opposed to a standalone grant. Our last grant that I'm going to talk about and hopefully differentiate for you what Ivy does is our WDTF apprenticeship grant. And this was put in place to help Wyoming registered apprenticeship programs because there is a component within those programs where they have to have theoretical or classroom learning, where there's a cost, there's tuition and classroom fees. In addition to the other parts of an apprenticeship program where there's the on-the-job training piece. And so this grant was set up to help those registered apprenticeship programs and the related instruction providers the cost of that training. And so this grant, either the registered apprenticeship program can apply, the sponsors, or the related instruction provider that they're working with can apply, and then it'll go towards the cost of the tuition for the apprentices. We do want to let you know that, and Ivy's going to go more into detail, but we do have 89 registered apprenticeship programs here in Wyoming with 44 different occupations registered. And so she's going to go into much more detail of what that might look like. But we did want to let you know that we have the state funding opportunity for apprenticeship programs, and then she'll explain a little bit more about the federal funding. Our newest grant under BTSU, it is a federally funded grant through the ARPA dollars that were received, and it is the Wyoming Healthcare Grant. We're calling it Y Health Train. This grant has been put in place to grow our healthcare workforce here in Wyoming and to help individuals get that training. And so this is, it just opened. We opened up the application window on November 1st. And this is designed to get the training for anyone who is looking for a degree or a certification that can be completed within a 2-year period. The parameters from the federal guidelines is that those that are able to apply must be at or below the 300% poverty level, and that they experienced unemployment or underemployment during the pandemic. On our website, we do have a chart to help individuals know what that might look like from the poverty level. And this is one of our AWAC positions that's running this grant for us, Savannah Baskus. And so she is helping us in this area. The preferred areas for this grant are the nursing pathway or the behavioral health pathway, but we're also entertaining other healthcare related fields that can be completed within that 2-year timeframe. So as I said, we did accept applications starting on November 1st, and we are looking at those that are newly enrolling in these programs, ideally starting in the January timeframe. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Spring
Yeah,
semester.
the spring semester. We're going to accept applications between now and through December, and then have that time to review those applications. And then as they're starting their spring semester, we'll be able to help them with their cost. We will also have another window of applications for the next semester, because our understanding from talking with all of the community colleges, that's the bigger portion of when people are going to apply for the nursing programs especially. So we're anticipating a larger number of applications later in the year. We're able to apply up to $10,000 towards those individuals, towards their educational cost. And that can go towards tuition, supplies, materials, some uniform requirements, lab kits, things like that. And the goal of the grant is that we are wanting to increase the number of students that are enrolled in healthcare programs, as well as increase the number of students that are getting that degree and getting those certifications.
Sharon? If
Yes.
I can ask a quick question. So I think you might have answered this in that, how are we getting the word out on that? Is that through the community colleges currently?
Well, we have a wide variety of ways that we are getting this word out. We have talked to all the community colleges. We have an individual with each one of those programs that we've been working closely with, so they're spreading the word. We've done social media blast to let people know what's happening and when the application is taking place. We do have a website linked to our website that gives us information as well. We are doing Q&As, which I will come up on the next slide, where we're helping people ask questions and get those answers. And then we have rack cards and posters that we've sent to all the community colleges. We're going to be reaching out to the high schools next semester as those individuals are getting ready to graduate and looking for opportunities. So we have, and then our DWS comms team has been instrumental in getting that word out for
Awesome.
us.
Great, thank you. I think Ron has a question as well. Where's
Yeah,
Ron?
I put it into the chat, but yeah, I'm not actually in the room today. Sorry. So West Wyoming Community College is expanding their nursing program, and they've got a grant to build the new facility and all of that. They're going to be doing that project here, starting it in February. So my question, I guess, is two-part. One, would you guys like to be included on the invite list for that ceremony? And is there any way that you can benefit from the expanded program that they're going to have at Western in terms of the healthcare?
Yes, we would love to be invited to the opening ceremony. And we are having conversations with Western, but would love to continue learning more about what that might look like. We do have a time frame with this grant. We do have to have the funding obligated by the end of 2024. And then it can be expended out to the end of 26.
I believe that's correct.
Okay. But yes, thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer, would you mind making sure they get my contact information?
I also just wanted to let everyone know that we have reached out to the career counselors, the high schools around the state, CTE instructors. So we have got that out as well, and the adult education programs at each of the community colleges. So we are really trying to make sure that we are looking at every avenue to make people aware of this program. So please spread the word. That's a wonderful way that you can help. So.
And this is Ben Moritz. I just wanted to add my kudos to them. They really have been working hard to spread the word, and it's a really good program, and we're really excited about the potential impact.
Thank you, Ben. Tammy has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jennifer, could you go back 2 slides? I have a question on that one. Thank you. The second bullet, have experience, I assume that those are ands. You said and or. So basically it's or, right? You don't have to have both qualifications?
That's correct.
Okay, because I was curious about that with high school kids, because they would never have been underemployed. And they would be eligible for the Hathaway at community colleges. So would they get the Hathaway and then also get this grant?
They could potentially, because my understanding is the Hathaway can go towards other expenses for those college needs. And so this is pretty narrow on what it can cover. And so we could consider looking at this for their tuition and classroom materials and fees, and then the Hathaway for other expenses.
Yeah, I think the Hathaway just covers tuition and books. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I was curious thinking about my daughter who needs to get into this, but she, is 21 and was not underemployed.
Yeah.
But
So
I'm
we've
glad to
been-
know it's an or, so.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
We've been working with the financial advisors on how they would balance all of the different funding opportunities a student could have, because they could even
Yeah.
have like a scholarship, an athletic scholarship that would go towards their tuition cost, and then we could subsidize the difference of that. So the financial aid people at all of the community colleges will be helping us determine what their tuition looks like and how we can help supplement.
How do you outreach to the older people who may qualify as underemployed?
So we're also working with the adult education programs at the colleges as well.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah. And thank you, Ben. I did not realize you were online, but he's been very instrumental in getting us connected and helping us have the right conversations and having the right terminology that we're connecting with what the colleges are calling these programs and what they're looking at. So it's been a great collaboration, and we appreciate your help.
And I believe Dr. Aldrich has either a comment or question.
I just had a comment. I just want to say these brochures look great. They're amazing.
They do.
Really nice job of your but also just how much I appreciate the work that you're doing, because apprenticeships have been around forever, but they're a hard sale for business and industry a lot of times because they can be really difficult to implement and be time consuming to implement. So knowing that we now are making really good headway and progress is, I think, really kudos to your team, because I don't think that without the customer service aspect and all of the promotion that you've done that we would be where we're at with apprenticeships. So good job, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
And, oh, sorry, Eric, did you have a question?
Yeah, no, I was actually wanted to just piggyback off what Dr. Aldrich was talking about. As you know, I'm an uber fan of all of these grants, apprenticeships, internships. I love all the new ideas. I just to make sure that this group and the council is aware, every single time that we go to the National Governors Association twice a year, a director and the chairman, myself, we have the ability to meet with other states and other state governors. And every single time that I bring up these grants, they go, how did you do that? Like, these are truly unique. There's very few states in the country that are able to do what we're able to do here. So it gives me a point of pride on that, and so then it's like really fun, because then, I'll meet with other businesses around the state, and like the message that I got, I shared it with the director and the chairman a few months ago, but it just sounded like it was a right fit for the internship. It's like, okay, let's take a look at the rules, walk through it. And then this individual sent me a message and said, hey man, I just want to let you know that I got approved for the internship grants. I can't thank you enough for referring me that way. It's made a huge impact on my business. So these grants have huge impacts on the state, and we're really lucky to have them. So again, just kudos to this team. I know how hard you work on all that stuff. So we should be very thankful in Wyoming to have these kind of programs, and I'm glad that we're expanding them.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. And amen to that, because we, and I want to thank very quickly the subcommittee that gets together with your team to review these pre-hire training grants and others. We have council members Jim Engel, Katie Hogarty, Robert Short, and Mayor Matt Hall. So it's always a fun time to sit down and look at those opportunities and figure out how we're going to fund them. You guys do a wonderful job putting together those applications, working with the training providers, et cetera. So no, they're truly unique programs, and there's more to come. Sorry. Oh, and by the way, yes, I know, I thought too. For your council issued laptops, these are approved to go ahead and put these stickers on there. So,
Yay.
so
Yes.
we love the stickers, love the branding.
I can show you a demonstration of.
There you go. There you go. And it's hidden somewhere on Ivy's laptop. So somewhere, I think it's there, but anyway, so thank you. Go ahead.
So I was just going to let you know that we do have Q&A sessions that are available for businesses to attend, and we've also started putting some out there for the Y Health Train. The Y Health Train grant are actual individuals applying, so I did want to specify that, where under WDTF it is the businesses or the training providers applying, but we are available, my team and myself are available at any time to answer questions or help businesses navigate those grants. We have made we've made a progression to an online Google application form that we have gotten feedback. It's a lot easier than the old PDF fillable version that we had. But we're also working towards a new grant system to make it even easier and more user-friendly for those businesses and those applicants. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Ivy to go further into detail about the apprenticeships here in Wyoming and our programs.
Ivy, before you start, do you mind if I interject with just a couple more questions that we've received? Tiffany Marshall, you have a question or a comment?
Oh, sorry. I was struggling with my mute. I just wanted to echo what everybody was saying about how wonderful these programs are. Speaking from healthcare over here in Sweetwater County, we know how important it is to get that next round of generation of healthcare workers and nursing staff. So in our hospital, we actually have a program that we work with called the Health Academy, with our Sweetwater County School District #1, where we have juniors and seniors that come into our hospital and work with our staff to see if healthcare is really something that they want to get into. I think this is a really cool program that we can continue to push and educate them as they're going well. So I'm happy to disseminate that and push that within our hospital and our school districts over here in Sweetwater County as well. But I just wanted to applaud you guys all. These are great programs.
Thank you so much.
And I believe Ben Moritz had another question or comment.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Chairman. I was just also going to echo what I heard about how effective DWS is, and particularly your group. I also am at national conferences quite frequently, and just recently, a couple weeks ago, I was at something, and somebody was, another state was complaining about how difficult it was to work with the bureaucracy of workforce services. And I said, you know, we just reach out, we talk to them, we come up with great solutions, and they're very effective and collaborative in their work. And so you weren't there to hear that, but I wanted to let you know and just let the whole council know how great it is, because they stood this up very quickly, and it probably wouldn't happen anywhere other than Wyoming and with this group.
Thank you. And to piggyback onto that just a bit, there's a lot to these programs. There are a lot of rules. And so I've encountered a few businesses who are interested. And what I've typically done is connected them with this team. They can typically get very creative. They certainly know all the rules around it. But our goal is to get more professional training out there for our residents. And so I've found them to be great at working with these businesses to try to be, like I said, creative, to try to fit them into one of these programs. So as you're talking to people, don't feel like you have to know all the answers to what these training programs look like. Certainly the site helps, but I would encourage them to contact Sharon Shea or Ivy directly. So Ivy, I'm sorry, we held you up long enough.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's all right.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, before I start diving into our grants, I just wanted to take a second to introduce myself. I see a few new faces. So my name is Ivy Moore, and I'm the apprenticeship program lead underneath the Business Training and Support Unit. I have a very small but mighty team of 3 people who cover the state. We really focus on providing technical assistance to expand registered apprenticeship programs across Wyoming. We do that through walking employers through the first steps of becoming a registered apprenticeship program. We work directly with the Office of Apprenticeship to really help employers understand the process and what those next steps are really going to look like, and then administering the state and federal apprenticeship grants. When I say expanding apprenticeship programs, yes, that means growing current programs and the number of programs that we have in Wyoming, but that also means expanding the type of registered apprenticeship programs that we have here in Wyoming. We've done some really great work with employers across the state to create teacher apprenticeship programs, healthcare apprenticeship programs in hospitality and tourism, cybersecurity, IT. It's just going to continue to grow. So I'm really happy to talk to you guys about some of the grants that we have available to support those businesses and those efforts, and then also talk about a little bit of what we have coming up for National Apprenticeship Week and how employers can get involved. So the first grant, and where I want to dive in, is one of our federally funded grants through the Department of Labor. This is our SAFE grant, which is State Apprenticeship Expansion Funding. This grant is really to support the on-the-job learning. So Sharon had mentioned some of those main components cover that theoretical classroom learning and then that hands-on training that happens with a mentor on the job. So we're looking at utilizing these dollars to support that other side of registered apprenticeship programs. The funding awarded was $283,000 for a 1-year performance period. And I know that sounds a little scary, but there's 5 rounds of this funding, and it is a formula funded grant. So we're looking at having that funding for the next 5 years, with also having an opportunity to apply for competitive fundings within that period. Our current performance period for this grant was July 1 of 23, and it'll go through June 30th of 24. We currently have the funding to support a reimbursement for the hourly wages that these apprentices are charging to a business as they do their on-the-job learning. And we can reimburse $1,000 per apprentice at the moment. And that can be current apprentices that have never been reimbursed, and then also new apprentices that you onboard. Just on a side note, we have developed the foundation of this grant, and we were about ready to roll out our application, and then got quite a bit of feedback on some of our past apprenticeship grants that we've had that were federally funded, similar to this OJL reimbursement. And we heard this feedback from employers and how the application process through the Department of Labor can be really cumbersome when it comes to the demographic data that they're requesting per individual for this training. And so we're actually underway for a modification to change that on-the-job learning reimbursement to an employment stipend. It's going to be more of like incentive funding for the employers to stand up and continue to expand their programs for their apprentices. We can go to the next slide. Our newest apprenticeship grant is also funded by the ARPA dollars that were rolled out. It is our pre-apprenticeship grant. We are so excited about this grant. It's looking at a new population for apprenticeship programs, a younger population, 16 to 24. Really the purpose of this grant is to help develop those focused career pathways for in-school youth who want to go directly into the workforce. We've heard from multiple individuals that, college isn't always the right option for everyone. It's not always the right fit, but we want to be able to provide them with essential training to prepare them for the workforce. We do have some eligibility parameters around this grant that are very similar to the Y Health Train. So the household income limits are at or below the 300% federal poverty line, or those individuals and households had to have experienced unemployment or underemployment as a result of the pandemic. I did want to mention that this application is currently live on our DWS website for students to apply for. We rolled that out 2 weeks ago, and we already have 5 applications under review. So we're really excited about the traction that we're already seeing so quickly. And the pathway that we rolled out first was our construction pathway. And we actually have 2 options for that single pre-apprenticeship. One is through Makerspace through the University of Wyoming. It will actually be a free online platform for students to utilize to get that theoretical online classroom learning. And then the hands-on component of that pre-apprenticeship will actually be implemented within the CTE classroom and the advanced construction classes that are already happening within our high schools. Our other option for that pre-apprenticeship program is also through the University of Wyoming and their construction management team. That's within the School of Engineering. It's been developed and vetted by industry and the university to a point that it is currently a class that requires registration costs. So we're actually assisting students with some of the supportive service dollars we have available to pay the tuition for this class. And it's already being implemented within the CTE classrooms within 13 different school districts. We can go to the next slide.
Ivy, really quick, is that, you said the students get the grant money?
Correct.
So if a pre-apprenticeship program is set up within a high school, that wouldn't qualify for this because the kids in that program would just be in a high school class where there was a pre-apprenticeship program?
Yeah, so if the program followed our quality pre-apprenticeship standards, which I'm happy to share with anyone in this room, it was developed by Michael Broad, who is our Office of Apprenticeship Director. If there is the curriculum and the hands-on learning components that meet those quality requirements, then it could be used as the grant could be used in that scenario, even if it is being provided by a school. With this grant, the student is actually the applicant and the recipient of all grant funds.
Okay, I was trying to think if there was a way we could encourage school districts to implement the pre-apprenticeship program.
Yeah.
Like the one I shared with you, that we chatted about the other day. But I get it. It's directly to the students, so.
Yeah, so we can, oh, perfect, we're on the next slide. So the funding that's available with this grant, it is the student who is the applicant for this funding, and then registration is being kind of a collaborative effort between ourselves, the student, and whoever the training provider is. Each student is eligible for $1,000 worth of supportive services provided by the Department of Workforce Services. And then also there is a completion stipend. So there is a completion award for each student who does complete the pre-apprenticeship and is tied into a registered apprenticeship program, and that's $1,500 per student. We're really focusing on continuing the work that we have already done with expanding apprenticeship, but now looking at expanding that workforce that's available for our registered apprenticeship programs. Additionally, with this funding, under our proposal, we did ask for some dollars to be obligated to a modern apprenticeship hub. And what I mean by that is an apprenticeship website. When I am in a room with a bunch of apprenticeship leaders from other states, they talk about their apprenticeship platforms and their websites. And we really realized that Wyoming needed this same innovative platform to bridge that gap between parents, employers, students, educators. So we all understood what the definition of apprenticeship in Wyoming means. So that is the apprenticeship website that we gave a screenshot of yesterday. That website is being cleaned up as of today, and it'll be fully launched November 13th.
Nice.
If you look at the little stickers that are in front of you guys, our website is down at the bottom. So it's wyapprenticeships.com. And if you actually scan this QR code, it'll take you to the platform when it is launched. And then also, if you scan the QR code, we have been able to utilize augmented reality to make our stickers, brochures, and all of our posters come to life. That's really how we wanted to hook the kids into this opportunity and really get them clicking around, exploring apprenticeships, pre-apprenticeships, and what opportunities are in Wyoming. So if you scan that and the augmented reality comes up, there's all of these like moving bubbles and things that they can click on, and it pops up with information that they can quickly look at. And then the brochures. in front of
Love
you-
that, by the way.
Yeah,
Love
it's really
that.
cool.
Love it, love it, love it.
And then if you look at our brochures, we ended up developing 2 different brochures for the Wyoming Hub. We realized, two of our biggest audiences excuse me, are going to be our employers and our students. So you're not like everybody else. Those are our students. The Wyoming students are not like anybody else, and we want to keep them here in Wyoming. So this is our way of kind of hooking them and catching them with really cool visuals, some brief information that drives them to the website to look at those opportunities. Our next one is your team has a lot to offer to the next generation. Those are our employers. Our employers are looking to also retain those high school students and keep them here, because why not grow our own? I also want to point out that the majority of our images that are used on our brochures and our website are Wyoming-based businesses and apprenticeship programs. So we wanted to keep it as local and as Wyoming as possible. So I encourage you guys look at all of these, and then also visit our apprenticeship website on Monday, November 13th, which is also the start of our National Apprenticeship Week. So we can go to the next slide.
Ivy, will you send an email around just to the council to remind them of that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have published our full agenda on our DWS website, and then it'll also be on the hub when it's live. But we have registrations for everything. We're doing a mix of virtual and in-person events so that we can really cover the whole state to the max of our capacity. We're really excited. We are hosting 17 events in 5 days. So our team is going to be very busy next week. We're really excited to see the turnout and the outcomes of these events and kind of what we can move forward with. We did have the governor's proclamation signing on November 1st, and it was an incredible turnout. Tamsin was there, and it was the most apprentices and employers that I've ever seen. The governor's ceremonial signing room was packed. So we're obviously making an impact with registered apprenticeship programs. They're growing and expanding that line up with our agency goals, and I'm really excited about that. I did want to highlight some of the agenda items that we will be hosting during National Apprenticeship Week. One of those is actually partnered with our Career Compass team, which is through VR. And we're hosting a week-long virtual career fair to assist in reentry for justice-involved individuals. This is going to be really cool because employers can actually have a completely unmanned career booth That's live the entire week that individuals can just visit, drop off their resumes, and then those employers can sort through those at their own time. There's not the full capacity of a business being present and sitting there for 3-4 days straight. It's an opportunity for us to virtually connect with the available workforce that we have underneath that population, and then for our employers to be able to virtually connect. We're also doing a handful of high school career lunch booths, and that's going to be spread across Gillette, Casper, Laramie, and Cheyenne. So we're trying to cover a bigger region than we have previously. And then we do have a single staff that is actually committed to the pre-apprenticeship grant, and they're going to be hopefully covering every single high school across the state in the next performance period of 1 year. So she's going to be doing a lot of traveling, getting in front of those students, connecting with those career counselors. So really excited about that. We're also going to be doing virtual website tours. So if you're interested, those are going to be on our agenda for you to register. We'll have an apprenticeship appreciation day. We did this last year, and it felt so good to tell our employers and our apprentices that we appreciate them. They're so busy on the job sites or at their 9 to 5 that they don't normally hear that the work they're doing has an impact in Wyoming. So it's a great opportunity for us to take a break and pause and smell the roses. And then lastly, we were looking at some of the events that the Department of Labor had recommended, and one of them was talking about women in apprenticeship industries. And we really do have some very powerful women in positions in apprenticeship that don't normally get to stand up and say, here's what women can do in Wyoming for apprenticeships. And so we're having a virtual women in apprenticeships panel that we're really excited to hear about success stories from female apprentices, female business owners, and then others that are kind of driving the apprenticeship industry. So that is really quick and a lot of information, but I wanted to let you guys know about all of the great things that are happening in Wyoming for apprenticeships.
Fantastic. Love it. Questions, comments? Oh yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Give it up to the training team. Well done, ladies. Well done. Questions? Yes, Brenda Morgan.
Yeah, thank you, Ivy, for the amazing work that you've done for bringing awareness to apprenticeships. I am slightly concerned. My apprenticeship program is one of the biggest apprenticeship programs in the state. We currently are running 99 electrical apprentices. I haven't been contacted at all about this initiative. So I'm just curious, where did you get information about my program?
So all of the information was provided by the Office of Apprenticeship, Department of Labor. We wanted to make sure that our website was streamlined and only had what was available to the public on it. We didn't want to share any confidential information. So it's all been shared by the Office of Apprenticeship, and it was only what was shared publicly between them and apprenticeship.gov.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. I'll continue to reach out to you.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, please do.
Thank you. Oh, yes, Sarah.
Hi, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Great programs, lots of really exciting opportunities for people to have funding to pursue their career pathways. I am wondering if somebody has no idea which program is best suited for them, what's the navigation like if someone just shows up and is like, I want to get job training, but which one of these programs works best for me? This is my age, this is what I want to do. How does that work?
It happens all the time.
Yeah, it does. It happens all the time. And really that's where we saw this gap in resources in Wyoming and why we really developed that hub. But also going into your local workforce center, they're well aware of all of the programs that we also offer and all of the parameters for that. Along with, at the very end of this presentation, we'll have our contact information. We would recommend that individuals reach directly out to us so that we can help them navigate what grants are best fit. And then when it comes to apprenticeships, I think that hub is going to be vital for understanding, okay, am I an apprentice? Am I a pre-apprentice? What programs and grants are available for me? And helping them navigate kind of what the best fit is for them.
Thank you. Director Cooley?
Mr. Chairman, and I'm going to take it one step back from there as well. On all of our Workforce Center computers, we have the Boots website. So if it's an individual that's just thinking, I don't even know what I want to do with my life, there's a career navigation tool on the Boots website that you walk through, and I think we've even got another one on our current MIS system as well, but it walks you through a number of questions and interests and those type of algorithms that will then kind of help narrow what your interests might be and put you into some rooms that talk about the different career avenues in those areas. So that's another tool if you're just starting out, not really knowing where you want to go and who you want to be in life. That's another place in the Workforce Center that they can direct you to as well.
You think that would help me?
I'm thinking of trying it myself.
Dr. Aldrich?
Just in another role as part of my life, I serve in a different capacity. And I became aware that I had a parent call me and say, hey,
My son is in an electrical apprenticeship program through a community college, and he can't get his permit. And I'm like, he can't get what permit? Well, evidently, unbeknownst to me, in our community, we charge every apprentice has to get a permit from the city of Cheyenne to do an apprenticeship, which I still am trying to figure out why we would care and why we would be charging him. I think it's a $25 fee or something.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if there might be an opportunity for legislation statewide to eliminate this permitting fee that's going on by municipalities for apprenticeships, because it seems to be a real barrier. I did talk to the young man who runs that program in our community, and he said that he's actually had people that when they came to get their permit, and he said, you know, great, here's the form, you've got it filled out, now I need $25 or whatever the amount is. And the young man walked away and they never saw that person again.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking that if we can remove some of the barriers or obstacles for apprenticeships that are being imposed by municipalities statewide, I think it might be really helpful, and that's something I think that the Workforce Development Council could really get behind.
If I can ask Brenda to step in?
Mr. Chairman and Dr. Aldridge, there's safety licensing completely separate from what apprenticeship is. In the state of Wyoming, actually the state of Wyoming has some of the strictest electrical work licensing in the country. To do electrical work in Wyoming, you have to be licensed, either journeyman, master, or even apprentice. There's state level licensing that all apprentices have to get a $20 license to do electrical work. And then some municipalities do have city licensing or county licensing. So that is to safely do electrical work. It has nothing to do with training of apprenticeship.
Well, in our community, we call it an apprenticeship permit, and I don't know that we.
It's an apprentice level licensing
Yeah,
is
but
what
I
it
don't know
is.
that we discriminate against just electrical.
They all
apprentices.
have to, yeah.
Every
Apprentices, journeymans, masters all have to be
Right.
licensed.
Unless you're a tattoo artist, and then you don't have to do that.
Yeah, like I said, Wyoming, when it comes to electrical work, we are ahead on electrical standards in the country.
Well, it just seems that sometimes that might be a barrier for students or young people or anyone who's wanting to get into an apprenticeship program where they have their multiple layers. And this young man, when his parent called me, had actually gotten his state permit, but didn't know
City,
or didn't finish the city permit, and so couldn't go on. And so I'm just thinking that there's got to be a way to streamline this to not put up obstacles and barriers.
It's to
for
keep them
individuals who wanna
safe.
participate. But even if, Brenda, even if there is that necessity and that need, maybe something needs to be done at the state level to say, hey, we're collecting it at the state level, and not to allow municipalities to impose an additional.
I would caution getting into that government level of telling what cities they can do as far as safety
The
licensing.
state does it all the time, but that's another subject in its own.
Mr. Chairman?
Great, Tammy?
Perhaps the solution might be that some of the grant money could be used for licensing when apprentices finish and elevate. So I don't know if that's an option, but that might be a solution. It's something called home rule, and cities get to decide how strict they want to be. It's frightening because solar people come from Colorado and they're not licensed and they're hooking up solar, and your lineman could be working on the line 2 blocks away and get blown away because the solar was inappropriately hooked up. And we've been working on legislation around that, but we can't make much headway. But I think, to Brenda's point, it's very, very important that the cities know who's working on electrical in their communities. So you don't have houses burned down and so people don't get hurt. So anyway, that maybe, I don't know if that funding could help with that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd love to chime in. So with our pre-apprenticeship grant, if that license is required for them to be employable as a registered apprentice, that could be something we cover with supportive services for the pre-apprentices.
Excellent.
I would also add that with the apprenticeship grant for WDTF, when they're getting their training, that theoretical training, the license and certifications requirement or the cost can also be included in those grants when they apply.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Any other questions before we adjourn for a little break? Oops, sorry, I shouldn't use the word adjourn.
So if you want to slip to the last slide.
Oh, we have
it
more, I'm
does-
sorry.
It's just our information.
Sure,
Just for
please do.
anybody who does want to reach out to us directly for our different programs, please feel free.
Yes, and I will also add that we always say it doesn't matter how they get in contact with whoever they reach out to, we're going to make sure we get them to the right people. So, we do have some different dedicated email addresses. So people may not understand like, okay, which one do I need to reach out to for this or that? But you can reach out directly to any of us, all of us, any of our emails. We do watch all those, and we will make sure to coordinate a meeting. We often meet with people that just don't know. I want to do something. And we really just kind of ask them to paint us a picture of what they're trying to accomplish. And then we can fill in the gaps with, okay, I think this is going to work, or this may work a little better, or why don't you try both of these options? So we do that a lot, and we're happy to do that because we understand it's a lot, and it's a lot to know and understand and learn. And we're here to help.
Excellent, excellent presentation. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
We're a little behind, but we'll go ahead and take a 15-minute break, network, bio break, whatever. But we'll get back together. I can't even do the math. What's 37 plus 15? Okay, 15 minutes. All right, if I can ask everyone to grab their seats. What's crinkling in your hand? Oh, one of those.
Pie or something like that?
So on the break, Sarah DiRenzio had approached me and filled me in on something that I was unaware of, and I thought it'd be worthwhile sharing with the entire council. So Sarah, if you don't mind just taking a minute to kind of walk us through what we talked about.
Sure. Just with the discussions on some of regulatory type things, I wanted to let everyone know there is a legislative task force called the Regulatory Reduction Task Force that's taking a look at some of the regulatory barriers for business growth and just the regulatory barriers that might exist in the state. And so they're focusing on a lot of different areas, but one of the things they've had a lot of discussion about is a regulatory sandbox that would allow people to sort of enter the sandbox businesses to achieve a temporary regulatory relief to trial if that regulation is necessary or not. And so I don't know if they're going to bring that bill back, but I would just encourage you to follow that task force and see if it's something that could help with workforce issues in any way.
Great, thank you. Super interesting. Very good, thank you. All right, jumping into our new MIS demo. So Trevor's going to kick us off there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you may remember, back in May, the council agreed to help fund the transition of our management information system, or MIS as we call it, to a new solution and a new vendor. I'm excited to give you a preview today of the new site and let you know what the domain will be, where job seekers and employers can go to, and a little bit of what that'll look like. Before I dive in, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank all of the DWS staff, the Workforce Center staff, the programs team, everybody who's devoted hours upon hours and will continue to do so until our launch, just for all their hard work and willingness to jump in. So thank you to any of you that are here or listening online. With our new MIS system, we wanted to have a refreshed view, approach, and look for the public and DWS users. We went through a process of selecting a new domain that would meet the vision that we have for the new system. And this presentation, the start of this here, is something that Christina West, Jennifer Cassidy, and I presented to the Workforce Center staff to announce it to them. And I just modified it a little bit for you all so you could partake in that too. And so with that, one of the biggest users we have in our current MIS and the future MIS as well is job seekers. So we want the system to be there. So let's try, there we go. Helping individuals reach employment. But it's not just it's not just job seekers that are on there, it's also employers that need to fill positions, right? So we also want our new site helping industry recruit employees. So you might start to notice a little bit of an acronym there. And that brings us to our current site that you know as wyomingatwork.com, where you can post positions and job seekers can go find them. And with that, our new one is called Hire WYO. And it's going to be hire.wyo.gov is the place where we will host it. And we will also have hirewyo.com and a couple other related domains. So no matter what somebody goes to, in case they go to a .com, they'll still end up on our site and be able to look for positions and jobs for where they can go. One of the really cool things that we have on here that we'll have for job seekers is a toolkit. And I'm just going to jump into a few of the things on here so you can see a terrible picture of myself there. There's an interview simulation trainer. So the video on the left, the interviewer has a pre-recorded question, and then you can record your response. Case managers will be able to go in and review how people answered the questions and be able to provide feedback and tips to help them improve their interview skills. Another tool, we have something similar to this on our current site, but there's going to be a resume builder, but it'll have more options and templates for people to use. Right now, it's very limited on what they can do through the system, but this will help people to create professional looking resumes. We will also have a what they call an e-portfolio. So it's basically an online virtual resume. It'll have a link that they can share out. They could put it on an actual paper resume, put it on a job application, and it'll take and they can put credentials they have, job history, everything like that on this page, as well as projects that they have completed. And you've heard us talk a little bit, I think the director talked about it yesterday, the digital credential wallet, and this is one of the places we've identified as a possibility for that to sit, so that if somebody wants to verify their credentials, they can have it here and an employer could go view this to know that that credential is legitimate. And just back on that main toolkit page, you can also see there's cover letter and thank you letter templates to help people create those, as well as a budget calculator for job seekers to be able to identify how much money they need to make ends meet. And there's also a tool for creating a business plan, not a very complex business plan, but a basic one to get the wheels turning on what that might look like for them if that's a route that they're looking to go. Along with those tools, there's also modules for participant or job seekers to use. And I'm going to jump into the modules. Section 14 is what it is here, preparing for an interview. These are presented in a really, really cool way so people can get the information and learn the way that's best for them. The video that you see at the top there is an intro to just what they're going to learn in this section, and the objectives are listed out there to the side. An individual could read it through a workbook. They could listen to the workbook reading read to them, so they could do both at the same time, or they could also watch a video of the material presented to them. That way, any learning style can be addressed through this assignment, and they could do all three or they could do one. It doesn't matter. Here's a look at what the workbook looks like, and then here's a video, one of the samples. This is actually the Career Edge CEO. On this video. I noticed that the other day when I was clicking in there. And Career Edge is our vendor for the system. And then there's also assignments. So each of the modules has different pieces and things for thinking and to grow the skills that the job seekers have. And you can see here, there's 9 different ones under professional development. There's also life skills, which will dive into like budgeting and things like that. And then industry exploration to help identify what options may be out there. And with that, this is the landing page that a user may come to on the site when it launches. This is actually the employer page here, so you can see the candidate search. If you're logged in, you could find potential employees that meet the skills or keywords of your job or the location. Scrolling down on that page a little bit, you can see navigation to different places. So if you're a job seeker and you end up on that employer page, it's pretty easy to get to where you need to go. And likewise for our training providers, on the eligible training provider list, they'll be able to access and input and change information as necessary. A little lower down, there's links to some of those, creating resume, practice the interviewing, just to get people into that section if they're looking for it, as well as news and announcements for job seekers or employers who may want to participate in a job fair or other activities that the agency has going on. Continuing down that main page, there's links that will have links to partners. So if somebody's looking or needs to apply for SNAP benefits, they can click that and it'll take them to a partner that can help with that, so DFS in that instance. And then towards the bottom of the page, there's labor market information. This is just a holding piece right here, because you may not understand some of that because it's not really English, but the labor market information will be right there on the main page for employers, potential employers, or job seekers to access. Continuing on, this is an employer profile. What they'll be able to see, they'll be able to update contact information. They can add and remove locations as necessary, as well as add other staff users once there's a main user established in the system. And it's pretty easy and intuitive to use, which I know has been a struggle with our current system for employers and job seekers alike. And staff, I think, probably agree with that too. So overall, the site functions really well. This is a case manager dashboard, so when they come in, they'll be able to see how many active participants they have, how many job postings there are. And let's see, one of the really cool things here that the new system does is it has signatures built into it. This is something that was attempted to be added to our current solution, but it wasn't ever able to be figured out. And so this was a good feature that's in there. It'll save the staff signature, so they only have to go in and make their signature look nice one time, and then when they click on sign, it'll just pop their signature in there, and improve that process, so we don't have to print things out to get signatures. We can do it digitally for most things. This is a user profile, and they're, as you probably noticed, they're fake employers and fake users because we're just doing testing at this point. So Harry Potter is this individual, and they can add information themselves and take some of the information gathering off of the case manager's plate if they so choose, and get in there ahead of their appointments or things like that. So that'll take some of the burden off case managers and information gathering because it'll already be here in the system. One of the really cool features that we're excited about is the check eligibilities. So as that user profile is really filled in and we start to get a picture of what the individual what programs they may be eligible for, we can run this check eligibility and it'll come back and say, yes, they would qualify as a WIOA youth and dislocated worker, or whichever programs they fit into, and give kind of a soft eligibility. And that'll be a really good tool for new case managers who may not be super familiar yet with what somebody may qualify for, and help guide them in the direction that they should go with that individual. Of course, it's not a full eligibility assessment at that point. The case manager still needs to do that process and go through that with the person. It just kind of gives that direction arrow of where to start. And then this is what a case manager would see for an individual that's enrolled in the WIOA program. All the information is going to be right there. It's a click. Right now, some of the things when a case manager goes to do it, they have to click through like 10 screens to get to the thing that they want to do. On this one, they'll click the thing they want and a little pop-up on the side of the screen pops up and takes some of that busy work of clicking and annoyance of clicking and clicking and clicking to get where you need to go. So it's very, overall, it's a very modern system and updated, and will be a fantastic resource for job seekers in Wyoming, employers looking to hire Wyoming residents, and we're going to see some significant efficiencies for staff as well through the changes that we're making. So with that, that's what I had. I did think about doing a live walkthrough, but I was a little nervous as they're making changes on the background, and sometimes it's a little slow to load. So I didn't want us sitting here for 5 minutes with the wheel spinning or something. So I went ahead and took screenshots so you could get a view of what it's going to look like and feel like a little bit. And then we are on track for a launch in December.
Excellent, Trevor. Thank you very much. And are we uploading existing records and data?
Yeah. So the data is migrating over. So we have years and years of data, and that's been one of the biggest challenges with it. We own the data, of course, and what we've input into the system, but we don't own the data structure. And so that, for our vendor, that's been a big challenge, and they've had to map that themselves. And so all that data will be coming over. We'll be testing with that live data here in a couple weeks starting, and yeah.
Excellent.
When complete, will we own this?
We don't own the application, so it's a subscription as a service, but we will still own the data. And it did come with some significant reduction in ongoing maintenance cost once we get to that versus our current solution.
They always have a tendency to hold us hostage. Any of them do, but yeah.
And that's Career Edge, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Thank you. Yes. Yes.
And
Sorry. No. It is you, Director Cooley.
oh, okay.
Oh.
And Jim, we had that exact wake-up call. Our maintenance costs have been extreme with the current vendor. With this vendor, we're not going to have that. But on the flip side, migrating this data over has been an increased cost for us that we didn't anticipate. So, short term, more costs, long term, we're going to save a lot of money.
Bria, yes?
Mr. Chairman, this looks awesome. I'm really excited about it. I think my biggest question, obviously, I think one of the biggest things that we're trying to solve for here is user experience, user interface from the current platform, right? And so in this phase that you guys are in now before full launch, are you planning on doing user testing with folks in the real world that would be using this? And in the past, obviously, we look at the demographics of who is using this system, and it's very wide, right? From like a skill set and computer knowledge, website knowledge, et cetera. So just wondering if there's plans for some of that real world testing before it gets launched.
Yeah, we haven't looked at using any public users. We do have internal DWS staff that are not as familiar with the current program that have been when we did the first round, which was of testing, which was job seekers and employers. We had some of those people, myself included. I'm not an expert in using the current solution. And so, yeah, we've done a little bit to that degree, but not with the public.
And something maybe to consider from like an iterative, point of view as well, kind of get it out there and be able to then have some of those really like nice deep dive conversations with folks that are using it and be able to kind of, because I would assume with the subscription as a service, we would have the opportunity to update and kind of tweak things as we go. So something to think about.
Yeah, thank you.
Dr. Aldrich?
Chairman, I was just wondering, some of the modules you showed, like the mock interview module, does an individual have to be registered with the Workforce Service Center to utilize that particular module? Or would, for instance, students be able to log into the website and be able to access that module to practice interviews without having to go through registering at a local service center?
Yeah, they'll just have to register within the system. And that's the same currently. I mean, any job seeker, whether they're enrolled in one of our programs or not, can access the system. And it'll be the same when we go to this new one, that if you have your, it takes basic information to create the account. But once you have an account, you can log in and access this.
And as a follow-up, are individuals under 18 able to log into your
that used to be a requirement we used for our teen parents, and if they were under 18, the city didn't allow them to register. So are they now, is that something that they?
I'm not sure. That's the first I personally have heard about that. But that's something we can look into for sure and get you more information on. Yes. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Great. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
What's the mobile friendliness of the system? Is it web-based or will there be an app?
Yeah, there's no app, but it is mobile responsive. So it should, when you open it on your phone, it'll look like if you go to, I'm just going to use ESPN because I probably spend too much time on there. If you open ESPN, it works on your phone, so it should function in the same manner as those websites where it's formatted for your mobile device.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Just a few quick tech questions, but if you don't know the answers, you can just email them afterwards. Do you know if we have analytical data like tracking the user experience, like what they're clicking on most often, what their journeys are? Do we have that integrated or?
Yeah, we just emailed them about that actually.
Okay.
We don't know what it looks like yet, but they did say that there's going to be some included.
And then when was the last time we did any kind of like penetration/performance capacity testing on this? So is this an on-prem software solution or is this hosted on their cloud?
It's hosted by them.
Okay. So have we done any kind of like cybersecurity testing? Do we know?
I don't know offhand, but we can.
And then the last question I have is, do we have different development environments or is it just prod? So is there like a beta area that we can look at before it gets moved to prod?
Yeah, we're in the beta environment for the testing and.
Okay, so they do have that set up.
Yep.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you. Trevor, thank you very much. Very exciting. I'm looking forward to the launch. And again, you'll let us all know. And when it is launched, is there any way for the council members to access it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as employers, you could hop in there, or as a general public or job seeker profile, you could hop in there and look around as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Tyler, you're on deck. So Tyler Stockton's going to walk us through the talent transition update. You want to turn on your microphone, sorry. Thank you.
Now it's on. Trevor turned it off on me. So you guys asked us for the talent transitions. I'll recap a little bit about that for anybody who doesn't know about it, but it's a marketing campaign to help people who are in declining industries find employment in growing industries. We're focusing on manufacturing, construction, hospitality and tourism, and healthcare. We've got $500,000 for getting that word out to drive folks to those industries, whether they need training or just getting a job in those areas between now and the end of 2026. Is that the? Yeah, that's the end of that slide. We launched the RFP for that in the summer. We had 3 companies respond, and Warehouse 21 won that bid. We've had a few initial meetings with them. We're pretty excited about what they could come up with. And the contract's fully executed now. So the next steps on getting rolling on this, we had a meeting with them on November 6th. And at that meeting, they gave us some discovery questions that we'll be working very closely with them to collaborate with them to figure out the target audiences and determining the key messaging and the channels of communication and the calls to action for bringing folks into those. Warehouse 21 is going to help us identify those target markets and audiences and the key themes and messages. And working with them, we'll develop an execution plan for that. So it may be that we're doing a lot of social media. It may be traditional media, radio, TV, or various other ways that we've done it. I think the stuff you saw from the apprenticeship was done by West Edge, which is a similar company, but there may be some collaterals like that to help us, go out and get the message out when we visit places. We expect to have the design and production in January, so we'll be getting rolling on this thing at the beginning of next year. Are there any questions on any of that?
I have one. Yeah, sure. So what have we defined as dying industries?
I don't know that we have those finalized yet, but just judging by working with Tony and R&P, we're getting those data on what industries are kind of declining. Not to pick on coal, but it seems to be an area where it's getting harder and harder to find a job in. And our research and planning division has a lot of information about those folks who are leaving those industries. And, coal's not the only one. There are other areas that just used to be the in-demand industries and aren't anymore.
Right.
But, anybody from any of those areas is able to access this and come into our workforce centers. And that's mainly what we're trying to do is let folks know who are having trouble finding a job in whatever industry they're in. Come into the workforce center, we'll help you. Those who are eligible can take advantage of the WIOA funding and that already exists and help them either get training or just find a job or, whatever they need to enter those fields. And those fields that you folks helped us identify, manufacturing, construction, hospitality and tourism, and healthcare are the ones that seem to be the really big growing industries in Wyoming. So trying to help them find positions in those areas.
Great. Let me just ask if there's anybody else that has a question. Yes? We have who?
I was just going to add some additional background because some of the council members are new, but this was an initiative that originally came out of the Next Gen Sector Partnerships and John Melville. The funding comes from ARPA, so it's ARPA dollars, which is why it's focusing on industries that are not strong due to COVID and individuals who may have been laid off due to the pandemic. And so you'll see that theme, anything that's funded with ARPA dollars has those caveats that that's what it's for. That's why some of those industries are the ones selected for individuals who we're targeting, and then the industries were set by the council. And so it's brought to you because this was an initial initiative of the council that DWS is taking charge of, and that the team that's administering this may very well reach out to our Next Gen Sector Partnerships as these plans are developed for testimonials, for industry support, and other type of support that the council may be able to give for this initiative.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer. Any other questions before we let Ty continue? Nope. Ty, it's all you.
That's it.
That's it. Then any other questions before we move to the next session? No? Well, thank you very much. Thanks for the update. We had asked for it, and I appreciate you delivering that, so thank you. Finances, spending plan and expenditures. Yes. By the way, love this onboarding system that we have in terms of how we're able to just access slides, see the agenda. It's all in nice one consolidated view. So again, applause to Jennifer and to Eric, Vice Chair Eric, for getting this initiated for us, because it's been very helpful. I hope you guys are finding it as useful as I am. All right, Jennifer, you ready? Nope.
Yep, there we go.
Okay.
Perfect.
There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. My name's Jennifer Cassidy. I'm the Deputy CFO for Workforce Services. So we are reviewing July, August, and September expenditures. I want to start in the color-coded areas. So for the new members, the council is funded through federal dollars. So this is an up to 15% off of our WIOA grant that the department uses. Currently, we have our 21, 22, and 23 grant years open. 21 is 96% spent, so that's really good. We're on track with that. And then we'll start spending into the 22 and 23. So as of the end of September, the council's total funding was 32% spent, with 968,000 left to spend. Main thing I'll focus on is down in our current projects. I know that the micro-credentialing has been one that we've talked about a few times. My understanding is that we've received all of those invoices now and they are being processed, so that will come off of our list here. Couple other things, the strategic planning, so it looks like we've had a first invoice on that, and I believe that process is still ongoing and finalizing. We've got the Southwest Manufacturing Partnership and the MIS funding that Trevor was just speaking about. We've spent 250,000 of the 500,000. And then the council approved for the workforce centers to replace some of their cloth-covered chairs that were getting a little run down and things like that in the workforce centers. And then we have a Lift Wyoming grant. The second page, this was in response to some of the funding questions we had. So the second page of this is an overview of the workforce center spending. So the operations and participant side of the WIOA grant and the spending. This was just kind of our idea to help share some of that information with the council, but we're open if there's any suggestions. I won't go too much into detail, but you can see that the 21 grant is completely spent or obligated. 22 grant is 99% spent or obligated, and then they will start spending into that 23 award. I believe those were my main highlights, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, so looking at either of those pages, does anybody have any questions regarding the current financial perspective? No. All right, Jennifer, well, thank you very much.
This requires a vote.
It does require a vote. So I'd welcome a motion to accept the expenditure report as drafted here. Thank you, Jim.
Second.
Thank you, Danny. Received a second from Danny. All those in favor of accepting the expenditure report as shown, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? No? Very good. Thank you very much, Jennifer. So that goes into record. And then Ms. Welch, if we can maybe consider for the next meeting agenda, an update from Dr. Laurel Ballard on the micro-credentialing. I think it's probably timely. I don't know if she wasn't a part of our last meeting, correct? She was or wasn't? She was not. Okay. So it may be worthwhile. That was a pretty significant expenditure. We're all in favor of it. I love it. I'd love to hear more about our successes in that area. So great. Thank you. Moving on. Next Gen Sector Partnership Grant Request. So Jennifer Welch, you going to walk us through that? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. All these documents are in Onboard, but they're also available on the WWDC website under meeting materials. But I am going to start at the the Tri-County Healthcare Alliance is requesting, let me go back to the application, sorry. They're requesting $15,000 to, and that's why I was in the original one. They're going to hire a consultant, and I'll pop back there in a minute. The Next Gen Sector Partnership grants require an in-kind or cash match. The Goshen County Economic Development Association is planning to provide that match for this grant. So I'll go back to the real meat and potatoes of their application.
And for the council's context, remind us of the guidelines that we had put around the support grant in terms of maximum award, et cetera.
Well, that's funny because the application right now says $5,000. However, since I have been here, the council has never awarded $5,000. They've always awarded more. So that's ironic.
Excellent.
But the main requirement that makes this grant different than the Workforce System Support Grant is that only a Next Gen Sector Partnership can apply for this grant. And there must be at least a 10% match for the grant, which is coming from, in this case, the Goshen County Economic Development Association. The healthcare part, so this is a multi-county, that's why it's 3 counties. So it's a 3-county partnership, would like to hire a consultant to assess the current workforce needs for the healthcare industry, but specific to those 3 counties, which if you're not familiar with Goshen, Platte, and Niobrara counties, they're incredibly rural. Their population is very small and their workforce needs are still mighty and their healthcare needs are still mighty. They're also on a border, so some of the healthcare services are happening in Nebraska. And so the hospital in Torrington would really like people to see them as their healthcare provider for those individuals who live in Torrington. And so these 3 counties have unique workforce challenges because of their rural nature. And they would like to engage relevant stakeholders. That includes the healthcare professionals that they have, educators such as Eastern Wyoming Community College. They'd like to see what some options are for their talent development, having some of those pathways with their community college. And then the consultant would develop those recommendations for them to enhance their workforce efforts so that they can serve their communities.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. And I'm assuming that the Next Gen Sector Partnership Subcommittee with Tony, who I don't believe here, Tony Cross isn't here today, correct?
He is not.
Representative from that subcommittee that can maybe inform us as to whether they've reviewed that and wish to push that to us?
Right, so the Next Gen Healthcare, or the Next Gen Subcommittee has approved this. Because it's over $5,000, this had to also go to the Strategic Performance and Finance Committee, who has also unanimously approved this application, which has been brought forth to the council today.
Excellent, thank you. So before we look for a motion on that, does anybody have any questions or require any clarification before we put that to a vote? No? Okay. Well, then I would welcome a motion in terms of what we would like to do with this grant request.
I'll take the recommendation from the subcommittee that the council approve this grant as written.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Engel. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Larry, you just weren't fast enough.
That's fine.
Thank you very much, Mayor Hall. All right, all those in favor of approving this $15,000 Next Gen Support Grant for the Tri-County Healthcare Alliance signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? No, excellent, it passes. Thank you very much, Jennifer, for presenting that. And please update us on how that moves forward.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, please.
In working with this is about 11 months in the making, this grant application. And I've also been working with the governor's healthcare task force. I see this report as, although it's very unique to the Tri-County area, we have many very rural areas in our state. I see the final report being applicable to many sections of our state. And so hopefully we can get even greater bang for our buck. The plan is to, because we own it, is to share this with the healthcare partnership or the healthcare task force to see if any other communities could benefit with the outcomes that they generated in their report.
That's wonderful.
Great idea.
That's wonderful. Should have said that earlier. We would have moved through this a lot quicker.
Sorry, I forget things.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Jennifer. All right, moving on to contracts for 2024. I see my name's listed as the presenter. I'm not sure what I'm presenting.
You told me to.
I did? For contract? Which contracts do we have?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, please do.
The first contract under consideration is the contract for collaborative economics.
Okay, thank you very much.
And
You're
also,
exactly right.
Tony's not going to be here to give more context. So either you can, or Larry or Brenda can.
And so, yeah, actually, Larry or Brenda, jump in and I'll add some color if I need to.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. I had the pleasure of reviewing the RFPs that were submitted for this. It was very evident that it was appropriate to stay with this provider, cost savings wise, and just the detail that they provided in their RFP.
Excellent. And so just for those, I mean, if you're not following along on screen, I mean, this is for John Melville and his team to continue their efforts, their guidance, their kind of thought leadership with the Next Gen Sector Partnership Program. I have read through this and it's evident to me as well, but Larry, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that?
Mr. Chairman, no, I wasn't involved in reviewing those. Brenda was more
Okay.
on that task force.
Okay, very good. And can you summarize just really quick how much that was for, Brenda? Do you know off the top of your head? I'm sure Jennifer does.
Yeah, it's up on the
There.
screen. John Melville actually dropped his cost. His contracts traditionally have been 119,000 or 115,000. But over the years, he has figured out how much it truly costs to serve the state of Wyoming. And so this is his, the request he put in. There was one additional submitter who was not competitive, both by what they planned to provide. Their bid was also only for 12 weeks, so that wasn't very helpful. And it was over $300,000.
Wow,
So it was not a competitive bid. Also, I do want to just make note that there's additional reporting for John Melville now through this RFP process, and he has started doing that reporting. And in the contract, he is also to work with the Next Gen Sector Partnership Committee to create some other potential measurables that we can gain from this contract. And also, I do want to state that there have been 3 new launches for sector partnerships in the last couple of months.
Well done.
And one right here in Casper, they now have a healthcare sector partnership. And
Wonderful.
Mayor Matt Hall just launched-ish his, the Bighorn Hospital, yeah. So.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Hall. Yeah, and I'll just,
Is there a recommendation from the subcommittee to approve this?
yes, but let me just note really quick. There's the written word of what services John and his team as through collaborative economics are to provide. And then there's the reality of what he provides, which is a lot of subtle additional things for our state. And I think it's been, I think most people here would agree, working with John has been an outstanding process these last 4 years. No, 4 years has it been, I think? 5.
Since 2018.
Okay.
I believe.
Okay, longer than that. So, and so I definitely support this, but let's go ahead and make the so we had a recommendation from the Next Gen Sector Partnership to approve this contract, correct?
Right. So the Next Gen Sector Partnership Committee has approved this this contract for John Melville because it's over $5,000. This has also been presented to the Strategic Performance and Finance Committee, who have also recommended the approval of this contract.
Excellent. So then with that noted, I would accept a motion to be made to approve this contract.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Eric. Second. Thank you, Jim. All those in favor of approving the collaborative economics contract as shown, signify with an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Excellent. We continue our wonderful relationship with collaborative economics. I'm looking forward to that. Excellent. We also have on our contracts for 2024 an agreement with Warehouse 21 to provide another additional year for $3,000 of support and continued modifications, edits, et cetera, on the Workforce Development Council's website. Jennifer, do you have anything you want to add to that?
This amendment to the contract is under $5,000, but because we were talking about contracts at Strategic Performance and Finance Committee, we added it. The Strategic Performance and Finance Committee has also recommended the continuation of Warehouse 21's contract for the amount of $3,000 to continue the WWDC website.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Any questions, thoughts, comments, issues on that?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Bria.
Just a quick clarification. So outside of hosting and maintenance, what does that fee include for the year? Is that it? Oh,
It's pretty much
That's why
that.
it's $3,000. Yeah, so we get hosting, maintenance, and then in that maintenance budget, we can continue to work on some of the bugs that are in the current website. If you haven't viewed the website recently, I recommend that you do. Kari and I made a lot of changes to its user experience. We made the meeting information and materials a lot easier to find. It's not buried in any subsection. The grants are easier to find. They're right up front on the front page.
And those edits we're able to do ourselves, correct?
Some of them.
Like I noticed Sarah displaced me and you pushed me further from.
Oh yeah, I get to change that.
Okay.
You're third, ET's fourth. But there are some things that we are able to change ourselves and I do have DWS's webmaster helps me on some of the changes. And then there are some things that Warehouse 21 has embedded in the code of the site that we do not have access to.
So do they give us flexibility then? Because that's not like, you changing UX isn't necessarily maintenance from like by definition, but they give you ability to kind of come to them and there's flexibility
Yes.
within that price.
Yeah,
point.
there's a dollar amount of their billing hours that we make actual adjustments to the face of the website. So a lot of the taskbar changes had to be done by Warehouse 21. We were able to add on the front page the grants. I change your pictures. That's a feature that they even allow me to do. But adding the disclaimer that this is paid for in whole or by part by federal funds, because it is paid in whole by federal funds, that was $1, like that was part of the budget, because apparently the footer is part of the code in this website. There's a lot of very nuanced things. The webmaster and I just deleted the contact me page because I was getting spammed by Russia and China and India and all sorts of places. And it was just a matter of time before I clicked on an email that would have been bad. So now the bots can't just hit our site. Well, they can't send me an email like they used to before. So those are just some of the examples of some of the changes we could make and some of the changes that we have to go through Warehouse 21 to make.
Come a long ways from the past websites we've had. Now, given the latitude of the subcommittee, did they not approve this since it's under the 5,000, or did they bring it to the council?
They did.
They did approve it.
They did. We didn't have to bring it to them, but we did.
There's no motion needed.
So we don't have to have a vote on this
No.
then? Okay. Necessarily.
It's still $3,000
Yeah.
for the council. I just didn't have to take it to the subcommittee.
Very good. Thank you. And if you haven't spent a little bit of time, please do with the website. There's a lot of resources and materials out there. It goes beyond just being kind of a brochure for us. It's actually a useful site, has our bylaws, which we should all be very familiar with, out there as well. Our what is it, the strategic, the state's strategic.
State plan.
State plan, thank you. The state plans for past years and the current year are out there as well. So that one requires a little bit more time in reading, but it's a voluminous document, but it's all very helpful. So all that lives on our site. So if you're ever looking for those types of materials. Excellent. Thank you, Jennifer. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? No? Great. Very good. So we will take, I think it's about 15 minutes if we can, to break into our subcommittees. Do we need to break into them, or can we just go straight to committee updates?
Question to the subcommittees is, do they need a breakout or committee report?
Yeah, let me ask. I'm not sure. Brenda, you're with Next Gen Sector Partnership. Can I kind of count on you to be the lead for that? Do you guys need to break into a session, a brief session? Okay, very good. What about communications, Danny?
I think we're good.
Okay, and then strategic performance, who's sitting in for that? Mr. Short out.
Yeah, and I usually have Travis. Charlie's here, but they usually take the work of the other committees, and so their plate's actually empty right now.
Okay,
Which they
excellent.
probably appreciate.
You've been saved, Charlie. Well, very good. Then if we could ask for a committee update, then Brenda, if you can represent Next Gen Sector Partnership and help us understand where we are currently, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had been busy discussing, the collaborative economics review for that. And then other than that, I do apologize. I had not been at the most recent meeting, but yeah, we do try to meet regularly and stay on top of the most current things that Jennifer provides for us.
Great. Larry, is there anything you want to add to that?
We're in the process right now of developing a group in Albany County for construction,
Nice.
more of a young contractors coalition group that's developing. There's about 12 members now. They meet again tonight. But the hopes is that will develop into a next gen partnership for Albany County for construction. Same is happening here in Casper for Natrona County, and that's hopefully going to also develop into a next gen sector partnership for construction. They had their first meeting as the Wyoming Young Contractors Coalition last night. Unfortunately, I was not there because I was with you all, but so there's the potential in the next year, hopefully maybe 2 more launches for construction.
Wow. Excellent. Fantastic. And Jennifer, as I'm thinking about it, perhaps along with Dr. Ballard, we can reach out to John Melville to maybe have him provide us an update at the next meeting for everybody on the council. That'd be great. So thank you very much, Larry. Any questions for the Next Gen Sector Partnership Subcommittee? No? Thank you. And then let's see, Danny, would you mind walking us through any updates on the Communications Committee?
So the main thing that we had talked about over the last month was that boilerplate letter. Again, everybody take a moment to look at that. You can provide feedback to me or to Jennifer if there's anything absolutely that needs changing. A little bit of discussion with Chairman and with ET about measurables for our engagement. So we're going to be starting to look more at social engagement. We are starting to, with some of the content you're going to be putting into those boilerplate letters, we'll be generating more outgoing posts that try and humanize and personalize the council a little bit, so that hopefully we can have some more measurable. We're looking at LinkedIn. I think maybe Bria brought that up at the last meeting, that I don't really actively use it, but seeing what I'm seeing, there is more measurable growth on LinkedIn. Younger populations are still using it, which I think is interesting. I thought it kind of faded sometime in my youth. But we're looking at channels like that. We want to set up a Workforce Development Council LinkedIn page as another avenue, but again, trying to have consistent messaging, which will hopefully drive traffic and give us some more measurable data for how we're engaging with the public. So,
excellent. Thank you very much. And I love the idea about the letter, getting that out into media hands. Are there any questions for Danny regarding the Communications Committee?
Mr. Chairman, I don't really have a question, but I will point out that next week at the Business Alliance Governor's Business Forum in Laramie, the Southwest Wyoming Manufacturing Partnership will be presenting on behalf of everything we got going on over here, and I'll make sure to recognize the council.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ron. Couple things. One is the goal, and then, yeah, we'll talk about that. But then I also want to kind of just, just note that in reaching out to media and sharing with them this letter, you become potentially a contact point if there's questions. So if that happens, if media, and I think it's great, I think it's wonderful to get, perhaps pull quotes from council members when we get asked questions about workforce. Take your time on those and reach out if there's things you want to clarify. Don't shoot from the hip on these. Certainly reach out to the Department of Workforce Services staff. If it's a question about training grants, you know who to reach out to or similar. And let's just make sure that our responses as they relate to questions about workforce are positioned A, from the council's perspective, and B, let's just make sure you've got all the facts straight, whether it's reaching out to people on the council or to the workforce staff to ensure that we're doing that properly. Typically, workforce-related questions aren't urgent, so let's just make sure that we have the right answers. And then you had one more item to add, Danny, regarding the goals.
I did. I had forgotten about this. So goal 1 in our strategic planning, we had invent an image. That's a big question, but within that, we wanted to create a concise elevator pitch that can be tailored to each specific audience. We read through this a couple times at previous meetings, but familiarizing yourself with this language, I think, is going to be helpful. We wanted something pretty quick, something that you could use to speak to somebody who understood the industry, or somebody, I think the example I gave was telling my parents what this council was, and they still didn't get it. So how do we simplify that language a little bit? So 2 versions there. One for WIOA. The Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act is a federal law designed to help job seekers access employment, education, training, and support services, and to match employers with the skilled workers they need. So again, pretty simple language, trying to minimize acronyms, industry language, kind of cumbersome things there. And then the Workforce Development Council elevator pitch as well. The Wyoming Workforce Development Council partners with the state workforce system to ensure it supports robust regional and state economies and produces a high-quality, self-sufficient workforce. It's a lot of words, but it's somewhat easily understandable if you're breaking it down. It provides strategic direction and policy guidance for the workforce centers and uses federal funds to support industries and career pathways, as well as to provide grants to Wyoming entities and industry partners for workforce development. I think probably the most complex part of that is explaining what industry partners means. I seem to get hung up with people often on what that language is when I'm talking to someone outside this room generally. But familiarize yourself with that language. I think that we'll be seeing it more often. They're pretty concise. Communications within DWS has helped us a lot finesse that and get it written up. So
Outstanding. Thank you. Thank you to the Communications Committee for putting this together. What's that?
It's in onboard, everybody.
It's on onboard. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So, and do you already have the tattoo for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Right on. So no, but thank you very much. It's a surprisingly complex process to simplify wording like that.
20+ years I've been on this. It's interesting. I used to be on the Communications Committee, and we did the same elevator pitch, and it's just a few things have changed because of the new WIOA versus WIA, and then also the next gen, but it mirrors 20 years ago what we were trying to say, but it's very good. I like
Nice.
it. It's very good.
Thank you, Jim. No, it's great. It's great. Thank you very much. Anybody else have any other comments regarding the elevator pitches? Yes, Jennifer?
Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to point it out since it wasn't an agenda item to talk about the strategic plan that the council came up with. But I did note in onboard the things that we discussed or that you discussed today that hit specific goals. So this elevator pitch was actually goal 1 in the strategic plan. And then I'll scroll up. There's a reason why Trevor was here and not just to show you the cool new MIS system. It's actually corresponds with goal number 3, which is to enhance access to our services. And that's why you made the investment. And that's also why we're keeping you abreast.
Love it. Stuff getting done. Thank you very much for highlighting that, Jennifer. Appreciate that. Excellent. Well, with that, we have one last item on the agenda, which is opening it up for public comments. So I will do that now. If there's anyone who wishes to add something to our conversation, right now is a great time to do that. Let me know if anybody has their hand up online as well. Jennifer, thank you. No? Everybody's ready to drive home? Oh, Eric has one.
Yes, I just got one last little tech thing for this group to know about. So, the MIS system is awesome. I'm so excited about all the technology stuff that we are implementing on this council. It's been great. Just again, for this group to be mindful, as we are moving large amounts of personal data from one system to another, this is prime time for attacks in cybersecurity. So, there's a lot of PII, personal identifying information, when you're doing a core conversion as big as that. So just, Trevor, you and I can work together to make sure it's secure, but also there's a lot of security threats where people will attempt to potentially impersonate DWS as they know it's a new system, and they might start asking for oh, we need your social, we need your last name, and they will grab that. So just, during these very large tech transitions, this is prime time meet for cybersecurity. So,
well,
Yeah, just a quick reminder.
Great point. Thank you very much. Director Cooley has a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One thing I neglected to say yesterday that I really want you all to know about is our JAC budget hearing is Monday, December 18th at 3 o'clock. I would welcome all of you to either sit in or to join us in the room. And I have asked Chairman and Vice Chair if they would like to as well. I think that that gives a lot of visibility to the council. You're a critical component of our agency. And I think having you listen in to be familiar with what it is that the questions we get about our budget requests and what it is we do would be valuable to you in that setting. So just join in if you can, December 18th at 3. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Any other comments?
Yeah, Fabian, I got one.
Yes. Who's that? I'm sorry.
This is Mark.
Oh, Mark Mattson. Yes. Thank you. Always. Here we go.
So October 5th, Ron Wild and I attended the Southwest. I guess it was the sort of, it was a public meeting by the nuclear expansion or the nuclear group in Kemmer plus the two Pacifics, the two soda plant expansions along with carbon capture and two carbon capture stunts. But the key information I wanted to throw out to terrify everybody, and Ron will roll his eyes, but he's not there. So he'll have to do it online. You might need to turn on your video, Ron. So, terrifying levels of employment. So carbon capture, they said 1,000 temporary employees, 400 full-time. Project West, which is one of the soda plant expansions, 800 full-time, 1,200 temporaries at peak. I don't see where I wrote down there full-time, but I assume it's back down around that 400 to 500 people. On the nuclear side, 1,300 temporary, full-time 250. Pacific Soda, this is the terrifying one, 5,200 temporary employees.
Whoa.
And 10%, 520 full-time. So, like we said, that there's a reason that I make the joke about the eye rolling, in that none of this is absolutely certain. There is so much investment that you can't negate them entirely, but you add up these totals, they're terrifying, right? So I know Director Cooley and so many people in the room have heard about these. I just thought I'd throw out the information that they gave us.
Great. Thank you. Director Cooley has a comment.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could I get you to send us those numbers? It's not only those numbers, but it's the numbers that we're getting from a variety of other sources that have me terrified and up at night. And that is one of the reasons, one of our projects that we've requested funding for is to grow the Relocate and Wrap in the Wyoming Grown program. It is with the Wyoming Business Council, along with the Office of Tourism, and I also want to talk to the parks folks about it as well. To help make these businesses successful that are coming in, we've got to have people, and we've got to have some programs that are going to be reaching outside our borders to bring those people in, whatever that looks like. If we're working through LinkedIn, if we're working with the Alumni Association, whatever it is, we've got to be a part of the solution. And so that's why I mentioned the budget hearing, is because that's part of our budget request, is to be able to grow and set up and grow that project. So thank you for those numbers, but if I can get them in black and white, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I might add one more
Please,
thing.
please, Mark.
So what I'd really like to do is share the video of the meeting so that somebody can extract every piece of that information correctly. I mean, I wrote them down just because I was, terrified.
Mr. Chairman?
But it's all on video. So
Is that
so we-
Ron?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Ron.
For the sake of everyone and not having to sit through that and then having to go seek further therapy, I'll ask people here for a listing of all of the businesses, and then I'll submit it to the council.
Excellent. Thank you, Ron. That'd be very helpful. Very good. Well, one last parting comment is I do want to, or maybe even acknowledgement, I do want to say thank you very much to Jennifer Welch. Her position with us is multifaceted. It requires all sorts of different skill sets. She works tirelessly to ensure that we are structured, organized, doing the right things. And so I do want to say thank you very much. And with that, I would welcome a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. Jim? Yep. Mayor? Come on, give me a second. Right on. Just a second. You got nothing else going on in your life right now, so may as well. Cody seems pretty quiet lately. Excellent. Well, thank you all very much. Look forward to our next meeting, which will be virtual in February and in January. Sorry, in January. It'll be completely virtual one day. We'll make it efficient, and then we will convene again in the spring physically in Evanston. Yep. Thank you. Thank you.